Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Symbiotic Spores, Hundreds of Millions of Deductions, Infinite Evolution. 41. Chapter 41. Doubtful Wei Na, I always feel that someone is peeping at me. Oh, everyone doesn't play with me. It's so boring. Winna is sitting on a rock. He sighed, resting his chin in his hands. She looked at the beam of light in the distance, looking forward to the time to open the treasure chest. So her team is back. Ha, how are you? Wei Na suddenly turned around and greeted kindly. But there was no one behind him. What's the matter? I have been feeling that there are people around. Looking at the empty hillside behind him, Wei Na frowned slightly. It's just that she doesn't know. The moment she turned back, a white mycelium instantly shrank to the ground. This woman is amazing. Every time the hyphae get close to her, she can detect it. As a result, I haven't seen what color it is. Bah, no matter what color she is, what I want to see is what kind of symbiote she is. Yes, I am observing intelligence, serious intentions. Under the ground, Yian said solemnly. At this time, he built a mycelium room. Lying on a bed of mycelium board, observing everything in the outside world through the power of mycelium. Forget it, let's not observe her for now, this woman is so weird. It's also worthy of relying on the auxiliary ability, and the existence of third in the standings. This special treasure chest, Avril, should be about to be taken. Go and collect it first. Yian muttered. Then the field of view switches. I saw that Avril had monopolized many monsters by herself. Of course Yian also felt it. There are many other students nearby. It's just that they are all lurking and have no plans to shoot. It really is an old silver coin per capita. Knowing that the treasure chest can be opened is not worth it at all. So one by one, they are hiding nearby, just watching but not doing anything. This situation, for Yian, it was a good thing, because their eyes were all attracted by Avril's battle with the monster. As for the special treasure chest, although there are monsters who want to take it for themselves, but there was no way to open the treasure chest. As for those monsters who want to swallow the treasure chest directly, or transfer the treasure chest away. Basically, at the beginning, they will be killed by other students. Or the monsters compete with each other, and in the end, no one can take advantage. Good chance. Suddenly Yian saw a monster jumping over the treasure chest and wanted to forcibly take it for himself. The other monsters naturally disagreed, so they killed them one after another. And Yian took this opportunity. Directly used the mycelium to pull the treasure chest to the ground. Because the strong light emitted by the special treasure chest is difficult to hide. Therefore, no matter whether it is a human or a monster, the special treasure chest is basically not found disappearing for the first time. Knowing that the light from the treasure chest quickly dissipated, everyone was dumbfounded. The treasure chest they waited patiently for is gone. Not just them, those monsters who were still fighting with each other were also stunned. Because the feeling of incomparably attracting them dissipated instantly. Lost the goal of the fight. Naturally, these monsters were unwilling to continue fighting. With the first monster choose to retreat, all the monsters were scattered as birds and beasts. Good trick, how did he do it? After beheading a monster that was fighting with him, Avril watched the other monsters fleeing one after another and did not choose to pursue them. Forget it, I should leave too. After thinking about it, Avril got up and left. The students hiding in the dark thought about it and did not choose to follow. Not to mention Avril's powerful strength, it's useless for them to keep up. And Avril had been fighting monsters just now. Although she tried to snatch the special treasure chest, she failed to touch it. Therefore, it can be inferred that the special treasure chest is not on Avril's body. So it's useless even if you follow the past. The treasure chest is gone, what should we do? Cold. Either find out where the treasure chest is hidden, or change the area. Each area has a special treasure chest. When our area is gone, we will go to other areas to find it. You said the same thing last time, but last time, what last time? Even ordinary treasure chests are. Damn, it must be a person's handwriting. Suddenly someone came to a realization. When the others heard it, they immediately understood something. If it is the handwriting of the same person, then it's useless for them to switch regions. The opponent can cover up the movement and steal the special treasure chest in this area. Then no other area will be spared. By the way, how about the newly issued ordinary treasure chest? None of you know the specifics. At this time someone asked. You don't need to ask, it's definitely gone. I just realized that since that person is so talented, how could he miss the newly released treasure chest? Fuck, he should not reveal his identity. He swallowed all the students' treasure chest rewards alone. I will definitely be killed by everyone, someone said angrily. Although their purpose is actually to pass the assessment to enter the Tiangong Academy. But the treasure chest rewards were all stolen. No one else can bear this breath. Don't be angry, let's think about how to deal with the next thing. At this time someone spoke. What's the matter? Others looked puzzled. You don't know. Then let me tell you. The assessment of Tiangong Academy is to persist for 30 days. But you think these 30 days have been so easy. The treasure chest system was thrown out in the first 15 days, attracting us to find treasure chests, and it can be regarded as allowing us to adapt to this place. 15 to 20 days is the stage of the beast's rampage. 20 days later, the state of the beast's rampage will be upgraded to a beast tide. Unless dozens of people form a team and work together to fight the beast tide, there will be a way to survive. Of course, it's not really that there is no way to go, because the last 10 days are also the days when the flame mountains in the central area open. When the time comes, the molten slurry will retreat for 10 minutes and make way for it. Take this opportunity to enter the flame mountain area, and the beast tide will be resisted by the lava. And entering the flame mountains basically means passing the assessment. Unless you want to obtain the treasure chest in the mountains of flames, if you wait patiently for 10 days, you will pass the test. Someone patiently explained. Thank you very much. If it weren't for your news, I'm afraid I can only be forced to teleport away and be eliminated. After hearing this, many people showed gratitude. The information they know is really not so detailed. After all, most people only knew that there was such a powerful academy when Tiangong Academy invited them. So know the news. Naturally, it is no better than those who have a better background and have already figured out Tiangong Academy within the family. No thanks, it's normal for people from the same race to help each other. You will know that when you go to the endless battlefield in the future, the help I have given you is not worth verbal thanks. And next, the beast tide will start first. If you want to enter the flame mountains, you have to wait for the beast tide to rage for a while. At that time, when we gather together, we will have more people and more strength, and it will be easier to survive. Better than us being scattered around. The man smiled and explained. The others nodded when they heard it. At this moment, Yian, who was hiding underneath, also showed a sudden realization. That's how the test works. No wonder he always felt in the current situation. The mortality rate can never reach 50%. At most, the death rate is 20 or 30. Unexpectedly, there is a beast tide. There are a lot of hidden monsters. Once the beast tide breaks out, even Avril will not be able to survive for long. So the test of time is unity. It looks like a serious academy, and there should be no large-scale intrigue. Yian said with satisfaction. Because he had read a lot of novels in his previous life, he had been worried about whether this academy would be similar to the sect of the novel. There are various factions, and they fight each other all day long. The disciples inside are bullying the soft and fearing the hard, bullying the top and hiding the bottom, bullying men and women. In short, it's the kind of look that will kill you if you look unhappy. But now that I think about it, I think too much. That kind of sect, if it is placed in the real world, will definitely not survive for a few years and then completely disperse due to civil strife. How could it possibly go on forever? Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 42. Chapter 42. Avril, whose attitude changes rapidly. Brother Stinky, you really took my tool, man. In swampy areas. Avril scolded angrily. Seeing that the special treasure chest disappeared before, she left to find a place to chat with Yian. As a result, a foot slipped suddenly. No accident was tied up by Yian and sent away. Recovering her vision again, she has come here. This attitude is very obvious that her senior brother just made her a tool. However, when she was unhappy, Avril still held her sword and ran towards the beam of light to continue her work. It didn't take long for the special treasure chest to arrive. With her powerful fighting power, and the mentality of most people eating melons. The special treasure chest was swept away by Yian without anyone seeing it. Overall, no stress. That's it. With the perfect cooperation of Yian and Avril. The next hour or so, All the treasure chests are all in the bag. Then, Avril couldn't contact Ian anymore. How dare you play me? Thank you for believing in you so much. Don't fall into my hands in the future, or I will have to avenge this revenge. Avril knew that she was deceived by Ian. Immediately, he stomped his feet. She wanted to find Yi in theory. But all along, she didn't even know where Ian was. Coupled with Ian's bizarre means of transporting people, there was no way she could find it. Of course there is another important point. That's because she knows that she can't beat Ian at all. The strange binding speed and firmness. She couldn't break free at all. So Avril decided that it would not be too late to take revenge in the future. This small incense burner seems to speed up the training. If the efficiency is improved, 150% for the current me. It seems to be pretty good too. Although I can't use it, it should be sold for a good price. This Lingzi-like thing contains a lot of spiritual power. Yes, I like it. And this, stable source. That's rubbish. After about 8 hours, the movement of the special treasure chest completely disappeared, and the lock of the treasure chest also automatically fell off, and it became possible to open it. Ian also fetched special treasure chests for the first time and opened them one by one to check. Well, overall it's not bad. In addition to the materials from the ordinary boxes released in the second round, I can strengthen the ability sequence 2 more times. Of course, awakening a few new skills, or improving your cultivation base seems to be good. Ian showed a satisfied expression. Then he thought of Avril. After all, she is her junior sister, and she also agreed to work with him. Is it really okay to just kick her away like that? Ian was lost in thought. His non-existent conscience seemed to be aching. Finally, he remembered Lu Ruvua's advice. So Ian suddenly felt at ease. My dearest teachers let me not have to share good things. Then there is no need to share. No, it's about being trustworthy. Even if the teacher said it, it doesn't matter. But I made an agreement after all, and what if she doesn't let me tie it up next time? Ian suddenly fell into deep thought. This is a big problem. So Ian walked to the box that was just opened. He shoved the things he didn't use into the treasure chest. These are items that increase the speed of cultivation and stabilize the source. For Ian, the only value is to sell it for money. But he is not short of money now. So Ian felt that it was good to give him this junior sister. And the storage space is almost full. In doing so, it just freed up space. After things are ready, Ian sent it directly to Avril. At this time, Avril was sulking with anger. Ian kept cursing in his mouth. Suddenly I saw a treasure box smashed over. Avril flashed subconsciously. Then countless materials fell. Original cordyceps. Meditation furnace. Chi lingua. Quote. Is this a spirit gathering stone? There are so many good things. Avril looked at the supplies that fell on the ground. Suddenly dumbfounded. She has a good family. Although it is not a superhero family. But also the nobles of the Western Federation belong to the upper echelons. But so many materials are in front of the scene. It was also the first time she saw it. So many supplies. Inventory of her entire family. Probably less than half. These resources are more than enough for dozens of people. How can there be so many resources in a special treasure chest? Avril said in surprise, although no one told her who gave these things. But don't think too much about it. No matter how beautiful she is, no one will give her so many supplies in order to pursue her. And when it was delivered, I saw the goods but no one was there. So it can only be her mysterious senior brother Ian. No matter how much senior uncle Lu Ruvua loves me as a senior brother, he won't put so many training materials for him. So these are the things that senior brother got himself. Treasure box. Suddenly Avril thought of something. The examination is open now. The biggest thing that ever happened. It's not a battle for a special treasure chest. Instead, all the treasure chests were stolen by some mysterious person. So much so that the academy had to put in a new treasure chest. Who the mysterious man was, no one knew from beginning to end. Look now, the mysterious man who stole all the treasure chests. Definitely his senior brother Ian. It looks like my senior brother. The strength is far more terrifying than I imagined. Avril sighed. Originally thought that Ian's means of transporting people was very powerful. But compared to stealing all the treasure chests in a short period of time, It can really be described as magical. She didn't even understand the origin of the symbiote that everyone integrates at the same time. The source of mythical creatures that the world envy is what I fuse. It can be said that it is a special existence selected from tens of millions of people. Why is there such a big difference in front of this senior brother? Fortunately, he is my senior brother. Otherwise, I don't even want to get any supplies. Avril suddenly rejoiced. Only when she began to happily collect the cultivation resources scattered all over the place. Suddenly realized a very strange problem. The materials Yi gave her seemed to be to aid her cultivation efficiency and stabilize her origin. It's like the kind of material that contains a lot of spiritual power, can absorb a short period of time to enhance the strength, and even use it to impact the realm level. Not even one. Could it be that senior brother wants to tell me that cultivation should take it slow? He sees that my angelic origin is not so stable. Or are you just worried about me? Avril was a little puzzled. Although a little moved. But she always felt that her senior brother was not purely good-hearted. Instead, it was more like he threw the things he didn't need directly to himself. Otherwise, why have to wait until the special treasure chest is opened? Just give yourself something. Why can't it be earlier? Wrong. Avril shook her head suddenly. He pinched his face hard. What are you thinking about? Even if you don't need it, no one would have a bad mind and give so many cultivation materials to others. This must be a piece of kindness from my brother, taking care of her junior sister. And she is also in great need of cultivation items that stabilize the origin of symbiosis. The instability of the source has made her afraid to use items containing a lot of spiritual power to quickly improve her cultivation. You can only increase your cultivation by relying on your own spiritual power. Therefore, the supplies Yi gave her were the things she needed the most. I'm used to intrigue within the family. Always think things are bad. This kind of ideological problem, it seems that it needs to be corrected. Senior brother didn't contact me before, maybe there is any trouble. After all, it shouldn't be easy to suppress the movement of the special treasure chest. Avril was picking up supplies. On the other hand, he muttered a little remorsefully. Asterisk. Symbiotic spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 43. Chapter 43. The upgrade is complete. Yi comes out. Ding. Congratulations to the host for reaching the peak of silver. Ding. Congratulations to the host's success in strengthening the perception sequence. Your ability, low-level neural network, evolved into intermediate neural network. Your ability, neural unit, has evolved into a nerve center. Your ability, spiritual communication, has been successfully strengthened, and the ability has been strengthened, and the name remains unchanged. Ding. Your spiritual communication has additionally extended a new ability, spiritual perception. Spiritual perception. You can vaguely see the existence of spiritual power. Close black lens bracket. ... Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully strengthening the toxin sequence. Your ability, strong paralysis, has evolved into absolute paralysis. Your ability, strong blindness, has evolved into absolute blindness. Your ability, powerful slumber, has evolved into absolute slumber. Your ability, strong corrosion, has evolved into absolute corrosion. Your ability, mental toxin, has evolved into mental weakness. Your ability, terror toxin, has evolved into absolute horror. In the dark, Yi slowly opened his eyes. Feel the changes in the sequence ability after strengthening. The corner of his mouth smiled again. It worked really well. It's not in vain that I have accumulated 5 more days of spiritual power. Yi said with satisfaction. Because the ability of the toxin sequence is the most, the spiritual power required to strengthen it once is also a terrifying amount. So Yi didn't rush to strengthen it immediately after opening the special treasure chest. Rather, it is to ensure the success rate of reinforcement. The scheme after system speculation is adopted. That is to continue to accumulate spiritual power for almost 5 days. Although the reinforcement was delayed by 5 days. But the effect is really good. Especially under the accident, the newly acquired ability. It also allowed him to see the existence of spiritual power. In short, no matter where the target is hiding, or whether it is invisible. Within a certain field of vision, he can see a floating mass of spiritual power. Unless the other party can disguise his mental power. Otherwise no one can escape his eyes. Today should be the day when the monsters run wild, right? No movement at all. Yian felt the information from the outside world. Strange muttered. It was at this time. Yian suddenly felt a surge of energy. This fluctuation is a bit like the feeling of ocean waves. But hitting him was like a breeze. Extremely comfortable. This is the spiritual tide of this planet. Today also happens to be the 16th day. It turns out that after 15 days, the monsters will run wild, and the reason is because of the arrival of the tide of spiritual power. Yian suddenly realized, for people, the tide of spiritual power is as comfortable as the spring breeze. At the same time, the training speed will be accelerated. But for monsters, it's more like being drunk. Because the cultivation of monsters is basically a matter of swallowing spiritual power. It is not like humans, who will slowly absorb and cultivate according to their own needs. Therefore, as soon as the tide of spiritual power arrives, the monster will instinctively absorb a large amount of spiritual power quickly. Most of the monsters were unable to digest these spiritual powers for a short time, thus entering a state of excitement. That is the so-called runaway. Only a very small number of monsters can control themselves and work hard to digest their spiritual power. After these monsters are successfully digested, their strength is often greatly improved. Unconsciously, the assessment time is over half. Except for the inaccessible mountains of flames. I got all the benefits from the outside world. It's useless to keep hiding it. And just as the monsters are running wild, I can also show my martial arts talent as planned in advance. Yian rubbed his chin and muttered to himself. Then, Yian tied himself directly. Through the transport channel, he sent himself back to a monster's lair. Three-eyed demon tiger. Mycelium's field of vision is still somewhat limited. I thought it was an ordinary monster. I didn't expect it to be a mutant variety. Look at the monsters in the cave. Yian analyzed it carefully. The three-eyed demon tiger gave Yian a surprised look. I was also curious as to where this human came from. Then he roared again. With a big mouth open, he rushed towards Yian. But it just jumped into the air. Countless mycelium wound it into a huge zongzi in an instant. Forehead. See this scene. Yian gently touched his forehead. It's a bit subconscious, it's not okay. Yian muttered. From now on, what he wants to show is his own martial arts. Rather than symbiote abilities. Just now, he had planned to use martial arts to deal with this three-eyed demon tiger. As a result, the hyphae were used instinctively to attack. So Yian waved his hand. Mycelium was removed, staring at the three-eyed demon tiger. Actively clenched his fists and rushed up. Roar. Although the three-eyed demon tiger strangely restrained itself, the strange plant suddenly disappeared. But seeing Yian, a slender human, dared to rush to him. So he rushed towards Yian again. However, the results are predictable. Yian's 18th fist of the dragon subduing only used the power of the 5th fist. The three-eyed demon tiger was blasted out of its lair. Before the three-eyed tiger demon stood up, Yian quickly rushed out of the nest. One more punch ended the life of the three-eyed tiger demon. Under the tide of spiritual power, you can still maintain a clear mind. This tiger demon is quite talented. If you hadn't met me, you might not be able to advance to the peak of silver in 2 days. Yian sighed, after the craniotomy took the opponent's crystal nucleus. His eyes stared at the sky. Then leave. ... Are you sure your student's information is correct? Isn't he a plant symbiote? He can kill the silver high-level three-eyed tiger demon with his fist. In the audience, Mo Luli saw this scene. Immediately, he asked Lu Ruhua questioningly. Yian's performance has always been described as funny. That is, it suppressed the movement of the special treasure chest, which made people's eyes shine. Unexpectedly, after disappearing for a few days, it suddenly appeared again. All of a sudden, he showed such a powerful melee ability. This made many people, including Mo Luli, somewhat unacceptable. It's martial arts. Before the assessment, he asked me for martial arts, and I gave him all the more than 30 sets of martial arts that I had collected. At that time, I thought he was too late to cultivate, and it would be useless to ask for it. I didn't expect him to succeed in cultivation. And looking at the action, it should be Bajiquan. Lu Ruhua said thoughtfully. No wonder Yian initially built a house and stayed out of the house. Then disappeared for 5 days without appearing. It turned out to be secretly practicing Bajikwan. About half a month. In the absence of guidance, one can learn a difficult martial art such as Bajikwan. Yian is also quite talented in martial arts. It turned out to be martial arts. Mo Luli suddenly realized. Originally thought to be a funny character with a problem with his brain, he suddenly showed such a powerful fighting force. She was really uncomfortable. Since it's a martial art, it makes sense. However, Bajikwan puts a huge load on the body, and even if he learns it in a day, he won't be able to punch much in one day. And now the tide of spiritual power has appeared, and the monsters are running wild. If he only relies on Bajikwan, it is difficult for him to protect himself. Mo Luli then analyzed. There was also a solemn expression on Lu Ruhua's face. But immediately relieved. By relying on Bajikwan alone, it is indeed impossible to cope with the situation of the beast running rampant. But Yian didn't choose to keep hiding himself. Instead, it appeared during the rampage of the monster. That is to have the means to deal with the current situation. Otherwise, based on what she knew about Yian, this student of my own will definitely continue to hide. Instead of showing up swaggeringly. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 44. Chapter 44. Avril and Hash 039, S promotion, monsters attack. Looks like I'm here just in time. On the grassland. A gust of wind blew by. Yian looked at Avril's figure that flickered and disappeared. Hurry up and rush over. Who? Avril Lavigne, who was originally closing her practice. Feel the movement behind you. Instantly opened his eyes, holding a long sword, turned and pointed at Yian. Why, I haven't seen you for half a month, you don't know your senior brother and me. Yian looked at the long sword that was close to his neck. He smiled unhurriedly, no nervousness at all. Brother. The person who found out was Yian. Avril also immediately showed a happy expression. You are willing to show up, I can't even chat with you if I want to. Avril looked at Yian and complained like a little girl. You want to find me to protect you. The tide of spiritual power did not come before, so it is not suitable for your promotion. The spiritual power of heaven and earth is extremely abundant now, so I came out. Yian said nonsense. He didn't really think much of it at all. I just feel like I should come out. But as the saying goes, people talk to people, and ghosts talk to ghosts. He has also been monitoring Avril's movements. In my heart, I probably understood what Avril thought of myself. So say it again on purpose. In Avril's heart, the image of his senior brother is even more reliable. As predicted, after Avril heard what Yian said, the small resentment in my heart suddenly disappeared. So, senior brother, that's what you think. But with your ability, you can obviously. Avril asked curiously, but before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Yian reaching out his hand. Ability? What ability? Junior sister, you have to understand. For some things, just take the benefits, and don't talk nonsense about other things. Yian hinted. Avril was not stupid, and immediately understood what Yian meant. That is, everything about the treasure chest and Yian's abilities should be kept secret. I see. Then please, senior brother, help me protect the law. I can feel like I can advance to silver anytime. But it's too dangerous to be promoted alone, so I haven't been able to really try it. Avril nodded. Then he looked at Yian and said, You can rest assured. Yian replied with a smile that he believed to be reliable. Avril nodded and began to close her eyes to prepare to advance to the silver realm. At the same time, there was a slight smile on his lips. Having a reliable senior brother makes her feel very at ease. This is a feeling that has never been seen before. People in the Western Federation, do they all stand when they practice? Watching Avril standing motionless, Yian wondered inwardly. If you let him practice standing up, it's not impossible. But I always feel that it is not as fast as meditating. Of course, it may also be because of different cultures, which leads to the subconscious feeling that meditation is fast. Speaking of which, my junior sister can really do it. The rabbits raised have the potential to continue to grow, and other aspects are moving closer to the standard of the angel family. If the relationship is maintained well, maybe when I grow up to the point where I can go to the angel clan to grab a few angels. You can learn about angels in advance through this junior sister. Cough, Cultivation is the most important. Cultivation is the most important. My desire to seek the way becomes stronger. I can't be delayed just because of mere angels. Yian turned his eyes away and looked up at the sky. At this time, a cyclone gradually began to form around Avril. The surrounding spiritual power began to quickly move towards Avril. It turns out that the normal promotion to silver is like this. Looking at the change in breath, it is estimated that it will take half an hour to be promoted successfully. Although compared to my spiritual needs, it is the feeling of drizzle. But compared to others, the spiritual power required by this angel symbiote is at least 10 times that of the natural disaster-grade monster symbiote. Yian glanced at Avril again and analyzed. At this time, outside the audience, Mo Luli was stunned when she saw this scene. Why is that stupid apprentice of mine getting promoted? As far as your handsome student's fighting power is concerned, if you have 2 more silver monsters, you probably won't be able to keep it. How dare she be promoted like this? I'm afraid it's not because he looks handsome. I'll be fooled directly. Mo Luli looked at Lu Ruhua and complained. I think how dare she be promoted to silver. You also said that there are actually some small problems with the stability of her origin. Lu Ruhua said curiously. It was definitely fooled by your apprentice. Mo Luli accused. You saw it too, they just chatted a few words when they met. I think it's more like your apprentice's realm is out of control. After meeting Yian, I couldn't wait to start promotion. Lu Ruhua retorted. How is it possible? I have calculated it, she will be suppressed until the end of the assessment is no problem. And there is a problem with the origin, she does not dare to continue to promote, and even slows down the speed of cultivation. Unless her origin has stabilized. But in order to prevent her from being promoted to silver in the assessment, I deliberately didn't give her an item to stabilize her origin. Mo Luli wondered. Because before Yian gave Avril supplies. It's in a cave, so you can't see the situation outside at all. Therefore, Mo Luli didn't know that Avril's origin had become more stable. So much so that it is now enough to safely advance to the silver level. What's the hurry? That apprentice of yours doesn't look like a fool, he knows what to do. Lu Ruhua said calmly. Oh, you're not worried, after all, it's not your student, right? Lu Ruhua nodded and admitted it generously. Mo Luli's teeth itched with anger, but couldn't find fault to refute. Because when Yian has a problem, she is the happiest laugh. 10 minutes later, standing in the same place, Yian suddenly turned his eyes in a certain direction. I thought I could be promoted safely. I didn't expect this to come. Is it attracted by the movement in the promotion process? Following the induction of the hyphae, Yian noticed that there were several runaway monsters rushing towards him. After about half a minute, in Yian's own field of vision, he also saw a total of 4 silver-level monsters rushing over. Sun deer, rhino horn pig, rock turtle, wind feather swallow. It is quite outrageous that these 4 kinds of monsters can be mixed together in a rampant state. But this monster's team configuration is good. There are fire-type magic attacks, powerful frontal attacks, powerful defensive tanks, and fast-paced assistants that are good at containment. I saw 4 silver-level monsters and monsters rushing over. The audience outside, including Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli, began to worry. But Yian's face didn't show the slightest worry. Instead, he calmly watched the 4 silver-level monsters approaching quickly. There are even leisurely comments. Asterisk. Symbiotic spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 45. Chapter 45. Tortoise Shell Barbecue, Galaxy Spiritual Power Tide. Unfortunately, the team configuration is useless. Merely silver level, still in a rampant state, I don't understand cooperation at all. Looking at Feng Yuyan, who was flying quickly, with a light body. Yian directly threw out the mycelium from his hand, entangling Feng Yuyan tightly. Under normal circumstances, Feng Yuyan's reaction and speed would not allow him to be bound by a mycelium. But unfortunately, in a runaway state, no intelligence at all. I don't know how to dodge at all. And the ability of mycelium was also deliberately exposed by Yian. After all, the confidence of the symbiote has been written into the archives. One of them is entanglement. What he showed was exactly in line with the description of the archives. That is to say, it gives the impression that the mycelium is a little stronger. When others see it, there is absolutely no doubt about it. After controlling Feng Yuan, who rushed up first, Yan then raised his fist and charged forward. With one punch, the Zuri deer was directly forced to stop. After successfully attracting the sun deer's attention, he turned around and punched the rhino horn pig. Finally, the third punch was given to the rock turtle. But it doesn't seem to work. At this time, the sun deer and rhino horn pig, who were provoked, also attacked Yan immediately. After walking to avoid the ramming attack of the horned pig, look at the flames spewing from the deer's mouth. Yan directly chose to hide on the other side of the rock turtle. One more punch at the same time. Bang! The power of the fourth punch was several times stronger than the first punch. This time it worked too, accompanied by a dull crashing sound. The rock turtle shook violently and let out a low roar. Fifth punch. See the effect. Yan punched again without hesitation. This time the shell of the rock turtle had cracks. The rock turtle was in pain again, and couldn't help but stretched out his head and turned his body to give Yan a bite. At the same time, Sun Deer also adjusted the target and launched an attack again. Shut up for me, Yan snorted coldly. The sixth punch hits. The body of the rock turtle was directly knocked out, smashed towards the deer. At the same time, Yan gathered his strength again, turning around instantly and punching the seventh punch. Behind him, the rhino horned pig that rammed over again was directly interrupted by Yan's rhino horn on the bridge of his nose. Yan stretched out his hand to hold the rhino horned pig firmly, and then aimed an eighth punch at its forehead. This punch directly pierced the head of the rhino horned pig. Yan withdrew his fist, took the crystal core and threw it into his mouth. The crystal nucleus with the bloody smell not only did not make Yan feel uncomfortable. Instead, it made him even more excited. Have to say, this kind of punching to the flesh should not be too cool. Sure enough, real men speak with their fists. Since I practiced the last few floors, this eighth punch has no burden on me. Yan shook his right hand. Except for the blood boiling, there is no other feeling at all. It's not like when I just started training, I punched the eighth punch, and my arm was sore. After confirming that the arm is okay, Yan looked at the other two monsters again. Under normal circumstances, seeing Yan so brutal, after these two monsters stood up, they absolutely fled immediately. But at this time, he still attacked Yan without fear of death. As for the result, it is natural to imagine. Yan once again used the power of the eighth punch to kill the two monsters with two punches. After removing the nucleus, Yan didn't stop there, but abruptly peeled off the shell of the rock turtle. Then, the body of the deer was cut open, and a hot organ was taken out. This is the attacking organ of the deer. As long as it is injected with spiritual power, it can produce flames. The deer is dead though, but the organ can still be used for a few hours. Throwing the organ into the turtle shell, Yan crushed the nucleus and threw it in. Instantly the turtle shell was filled with flames. Yan found Feng Yuan, broke his neck, took out the barbecue supplies, and started to grill on the turtle shell. The organs of the deer, the shells of the rock turtles, the meat of the phoenix feathers. These are also rare delicacies in the assessment site. Yan exclaimed. As for the rhino horn, wild boar is very flavorful and cumbersome to handle. So it was ignored by Yan directly. Wait until Avril's promotion is successful, the meat will almost depend on it. Just enough to give her a leg. Yan thought happily. By the way, pick up the brush and start brushing the oil. This scene made the people in the audience even more speechless. Now, they acknowledged Yan's greatness. Symbiosis aside, his talent is no less than that of top geniuses like Zhaolong and Avril. But what about this laid-back atmosphere? Even if you just started building a house, everyone thinks that you need to stabilize your source and take care of your body. But now it turned out to be a grand barbecue. The point is that it also has the seasoning of barbecue. Compared with other people, it is serious and pays careful attention everywhere, for fear of accidental assessment atmosphere. Yan's performance is really indescribable. Haha, today's young people are really interesting. The last time a student like him took a leisurely assessment seems to have happened decades ago, right? The old dean laughed. Looks like I've hit the jackpot this time. Although his thinking is different from ordinary people, his talent is really good. Although the symbiote ability was only used once, being able to directly trap monsters of the same level to death also proves that his symbiote is not weak. And even if it's weak, it's fine. Judging from his talent, a powerful symbiote will always evolve in the future. At this time, the mysterious woman in front of the old dean said, "The physical strength is really good, but this kind of condescending character is not suitable for my Yanyan Guild. Of course you can train your character well, it should be a talent." The president of the Yangyan Guild said, "Nevertheless. But he is Lu Ruhua's student. I'm afraid you won't be able to teach him if you want him." At this time, the vice president said with a smile. Hear him say that. The president of Yangyan Guild suddenly stopped talking. The mysterious woman on the side also sighed slightly. Such a good talent, turned out to be Lu Ruhua's student. That is obsolete. I have to say that my apprentice really has vision. I chose such a reliable bodyguard. See Yi An's performance. Mo Luli suddenly changed her attitude and praised. What do you mean your apprentice has vision? It's because my students are talented. Silver level can easily fight for, and the side effects of Bajiquan can also be tolerated. It's not like someone who was chased by 2 silver monsters during the Silver Age. Lu Ruhua raised her chin and sarcastically said with a proud look on her face. That's not because I just got promoted, and as a result, I encountered 2 mutated varieties of peak silver monsters. And you were. Mo Luli was about to refute. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked up at the sky in disbelief. Her gaze peered out of the galaxy through the clouds, where the originally silent universe suddenly turned gray. A primal, chaotic feeling came oncoming. Oops. Mo Luli and Lu Ruhua looked at each other tacitly. My heart suddenly shouted badly. It is different from the spiritual tide that is fixed once a year on the planet. Galactic spiritual power tides that are sometimes rare for hundreds of years. It broke out today. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 46. Chapter 46. The Fallen Avril, the Decapitated Yian. This feels like the tide of galaxy spiritual power. What? During the assessment, there was a galaxy spiritual power tide. It's over. There are many silver-level monsters in the assessment site. I'm afraid the tragedy from 100 years ago has reappeared. Headmaster, let's stop this assessment. We are willing to pay 10 times the cost and rearrange the assessment venue. Lord Headmaster. In the audience, a group of people looked up to outer space. Without exception, his face changed dramatically. It's not that the psychic tides of the galaxy are destructive, but the impact on the assessment site is huge. During an examination 100 years ago, just because of the emergence of the spiritual power tide between the galaxies, the 3 high-level silver monsters were directly promoted to gold. The examination was nearing its end. No one wants to give up on this. So they united and prepared to deal with these 3 gold-level monsters. The result is just a momentary effort. Of the more than 100 students who are still continuing the assessment, the remaining 10% are still alive in an instant. And this 10% of the people were also seriously injured and chose to withdraw from the assessment. At last, only one lucky person hid until the end of the assessment. Be the only newcomer in that class. There is a foreshadowing of that time. In addition, this time there are more high-level silver monsters. The number of monsters that can be promoted to gold has doubled. No one can pass the test at all. Even with the unyielding and arrogant character of these young people, there is a high probability that they will be killed in vain like 100 years ago. So much talent this year. There are several mythical level symbiotes alone. No one wants to see the whole army of students who are assessed to be wiped out. Especially among the students in the assessment, there are also geniuses recommended by them. Everyone, be quiet. Since the establishment of Tiangong College, I have made a lot of changes. But there are always a few rules that don't change. For example, the rookie assessment. According to the rules, once it starts, it must not be stopped unless the strong of the 10,000 clans attack it. No matter what accident happens in the meantime, how many students will die. This rule was also set by the first generation dean, and it has not changed for thousands of years. What happened 100 years ago is indeed a pity, but it is not without it in history. Our teaching philosophy is to be infinitely close to reality. So everyone, don't mention it. If there is dissatisfaction, I am willing to bear all the cause and effect," said the old school principal. His voice was gentle, but unmistakable. Therefore, even if he withdraws his power, everyone can continue to speak freely. But still no one said a word. The atmosphere is terrifyingly depressing. Everyone, the journey of cultivation has never been smooth sailing, but full of surprises everywhere. I think many people have been to the endless battlefield. No matter what accident happens, it is normal. 10 years ago, our new army of 1 million people succeeded in the sneak attack of the lurking strong men of all races, and they were all annihilated in one breath. In contrast, these assessment students have the ability to withdraw at any time. What's more, the invitation letter sent by my Tiangong Academy also stated the situation. Since you have chosen the assessment, you should have no complaints and no regrets. It's better to watch patiently, maybe these newcomers can pass the assessment. At this time, the middle-aged man behind the old dean, the current vice dean, persuaded him. After everyone heard it, they all looked helpless. The vice president of Tiangong College said so. It's no use if they want to protest. This rule of others can last for thousands of years, and even if they unite, they will not be able to make them break this rule. I only hope that the students who I recommend to enter the assessment will understand the seriousness of the matter and withdraw from the assessment by themselves. Don't give your life in vain. After all, even if they don't enter Tiangong Academy, they themselves have countless ways to cultivate talents. Tiangong College is only the best choice, but not the only choice. It always feels a little dangerous. Otherwise, you and I will join forces. When the time comes, I will slap the gold-level monster in the assessment site to death. How about you help me cover up the movement so that I have time to take action? Mo Luli said to Lu Ruhua through voice transmission. It was because of you last time that I stayed in Zuxing for more than 10 years. Do you want to trick me this time? My students are cautious, and they will quit as soon as they find out that something is wrong. Why should I accompany you? Lu Ruhua glared at Mo Luli, and the sound transmission replied. But my apprentice is not careful enough. I know Avril's character, she is not willing to give up the assessment easily. Even if it's a gold-level monster, she has to fight. But silver to gold is a big threshold in the early stage. Even angels and dragons can't bridge this gap at all. In case she is slapped to death by a gold-level monster. Mo Luli hasn't finished speaking yet. The tide of spiritual power between the galaxies came suddenly. A strong surge of spiritual power instantly erupted in the entire audience. Mo Luli's face changed greatly. Even Lu Ruhua clenched his fists. Because at the moment when the tide of spiritual power arrives, they can see it. Avril in the picture has not yet been promoted successfully. Just as the people in the audience discovered that the tide of galaxy spiritual power was coming. In a meadow, the roasted meat in Yian's hands has already exuded a charming taste. According to his experience, he had to catch birds and roast them because he couldn't afford to eat and was hungry all the year round. It should be fully mature in a little while. And Avril at this time. It's also a critical moment. The speed at which the surrounding spiritual energy gathers has become wind pressure. With her at the center, the surrounding grass formed a vortex visible to the naked eye. As expected of a mythical symbiote, the spiritual power absorbed by this promotion is comparable to my previous strengthening sequence. Yian not only sighed. After sensing the surrounding situation, I found that there were no traces of monsters for a few miles. Continue to start roasting with a serious face. Should be familiar. After 2 minutes, Yian stretched out his hand and broke off an ostrich-like bird's leg. Just about to taste it in your mouth. Suddenly a powerful force erupted. Unprepared, Yian was directly blown 10 meters away. Even floating in the air. Fortunately, a mycelium broke out from the ground and grabbed Yian firmly. What's the situation? Successful promotion. Yian said in surprise. Not knowing the specifics, his first reaction was that Avril had been promoted successfully. But immediately reacted wrong. The power just now was a pure torrent of spiritual power. Just like the tide of spiritual power, but the power is not a breeze. But the 8th level gust of wind. The current Avril can't have such a huge spiritual power. Could it really be the tide of spiritual power? If it is so powerful, it is definitely a spiritual tide between galaxies. That means, Yian suddenly thought of something. His eyes showed a dignified color. Then he looked at where Avril was. It was found that the Avril people were also gone. Close your eyes and follow the induction of the hyphae. It was found that Avril was thrown into the grass 100 meters away. It's over. Not to mention that the tide of the galaxy's spiritual power will make the monster be promoted to gold in a few days. The current Avril was suddenly shocked. If the promotion fails, then there will be a big problem. He has no friends or relatives since he was a child. Now I finally have a good relationship and a beautiful junior sister. He naturally didn't want to see Avril's accident. Just when Yian was about to go over to check on Avril's situation, Avril suddenly stood up. A pair of white wings grows from the back, as if wanting to fly. But the body was less than 3 meters off the ground, and the wings were torn and shattered instantly. Blood and flesh spilled all over the place. People also fell to the ground. It's over. See this scene. Yian frowned tightly. My sister-in-law has indeed been promoted successfully. But the problem is even bigger. Because she was bitten back by the symbiote and degenerated. Not to mention the change in her physical appearance. Just the violent spiritual power in her body. Yian was 100 meters away, and he could clearly feel it with his own body. This kind of violent spiritual power is not normal at all. This goddamn galaxy spiritual power tide. Yian not only cursed. Why did Avril fall? He would know if he thought about it. It must be the final promotion juncture, when the restrictions are completely released to absorb spiritual power, and it is about to succeed. The psychic tide of the galaxy suddenly appeared. The absorbed spiritual power instantly exceeded the safe upper limit of the symbiote's origin. Coupled with the rapid growth of self-cultivation, it caused the symbiote to be completely unstable, thus triggering a backlash and finally degenerating. In addition to growing a pair of wings, other conveniences have not changed. And it has just fallen, and there is still the possibility of salvation. Although the assessment will fail, I have to send her out quickly. Yian said with a solemn expression. Just when he was ready to act, suddenly, an afterimage appeared in front of him. Yian subconsciously stepped back. Several hyphae protruded from the ground, before it had time to wrap the afterimage in front of him. It was instantly cut off by a sword. So fast. Fortunately my reaction can keep up. Looking at Avril, who was holding a sword in front of her with a tyrannical expression and who did not recognize her 6 relatives, Yian said happily, otherwise, the sword just now. It may break in your neck. Although not dead, but definitely not bad. Have a quick fight. Yian clenched his fists. Start to take the initiative to attack Avril. But it was easily avoided by Avril. Although Yian's reaction is not slow, his movement speed is not as fast as Avril's. This situation was also expected by Yian. So when Avril was dodging, under her feet, numerous hyphae protruded again and wrapped around her feet. While Avril was about to cut off the mycelium, Yian also rushed over. Hold Avril with strength. Just when Yian was about to teleport away from the assessment site with Avril and give up the assessment, suddenly a golden light shone. Those hyphae of Yian were instantly incinerated by the golden light. The clothes on his body also turned to ashes in an instant. Even the body was burned to a large extent. Avril was also in the light, and her strength increased instantly to get rid of Yian's suppression. Gone, you rascal. The burnt flesh exuded bursts of fragrance. I was still grilling the beast just now, but I didn't expect to be teriyaki now. But Yian didn't care about that. Instead, he found new clothes with embarrassment and quickly put them on. Avril on the side did not attack. Instead, he looked at Yian with vigilance. It seems to be jealous of Yian's powerful power. Yian also looked at him without showing weakness at this time. The burnt parts of the body are also peeling off layer by layer. Just 10 seconds. Yian's body was restored to its original state. Look at the shards of skin all over the place. Yian was aching and envious for a while. The flesh hurts because it's burnt. Envy is the envy of the power of the mythical symbiote. As soon as he was promoted to the silver level, his awakened ability instantly scorched himself. And she bathes in it herself, and her strength seems to be improved. If it weren't for his powerful recovery ability, just with this scorched body, even if Avril stopped shooting, it would be good for him to save his life. Her ability should not be used repeatedly in a short period of time. Since that's the case, it's good to repeat the old trick. After the body has fully recovered, Yian thought for a moment, then gave up looking at each other. But rushed up again. But this time Avril was obviously much more vigilant. While quickly dodging Yian, waving the long sword in his hand, he slashed directly to the ground. A golden sword chi was stimulated. The underground mycelium shattered instantly. Then there was another sword, swung towards Yian. Facing Avril's attack, Yian wanted to dodge subconsciously. But suddenly his heart sank, and he went up to him directly. Avril's long sword slashed Yian's left arm. In an instant, Yian's left arm was cut off neatly. But Yian also successfully took this opportunity to manipulate the mycelium to wrap around Avril again. He stretched out his right hand and firmly suppressed Avril. "I won't let go now." Yian gritted his teeth and said viciously. At the same time, the mycelium wrapped around his fallen left arm, then lifted it up and spliced with his body. After about 10 seconds, the hyphae wrapped around the left arm recede. Yian moved his left arm, and after confirming that there was no problem, he was about to activate the ring to exit the assessment. But right now, a roar sounded that made the earth tremble. Yian's brain went blank for a moment. Although he didn't realize it for a second, he immediately woke up. But Yian found out that he was already in a different place. "Get ready to do it." Now, in the audience, Lu Ruhua couldn't bear the sound transmission any longer. The spiritual power in the body began to gather continuously, ready to release the big move at any time. Mo Luli nodded immediately. She had already wanted to do it. But Lu Ruhua kept making her endure, just to see if Yian could send Avril's uniform. Result: Lu Ruhua saw the most unforgettable scene in her years. My favorite student, for the junior sister he just met. The head directly fell to the ground, and the head was in a different place. Even if her arm was cut off before, she felt nothing. Because of being reborn from a severed limb, it is not a problem for a person of her level. But the head fell, and at Yian's level, the only way to end is death. Then within a few hours, the soul will completely dissipate. Start now, collect the soul, reshape the body and save it. Wait until the soul completely dissipates. Yian is really dead. But at the moment when the two immediately started, an unparalleled force directly suppressed Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli. "Master. Why?" I felt that the spiritual power that had just condensed in the body suddenly collapsed. Lu Ruhua asked unwillingly, "You really dare to break the rules of the assessment? If I don't take action, then the one who takes action will be the head of the academy. If he moves his hand, not only will people not be able to save him, but you don't want your cultivation base." A voice sounded. It was an answer to Lu Ruhua's question. Lu Ruhua was speechless, but he couldn't sit back and watch Yian die in front of his eyes. Even if it is suppressed by a stronger force. But the spiritual power in her body was still gathering little by little. Aside, Mo Luli is the same. This pair of friends and sisters. At this moment, they made the same choice in a very tacit understanding. I said, "You are courting death. The whole academy, who doesn't know the temper of the two of you, everyone is waiting for you to do it. Let me negotiate. It should be able to keep the souls of these two children, although it is destined to be an ordinary person and spend this life ordinary." At this moment, Lu Ruhua's master sighed. Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli looked at each other, and very tacitly gave up the idea of hands-on. As long as they can save their lives, it is enough for the two of them. Maybe, I don't need to negotiate. At this time, the two masters suddenly withdrew their power. Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli looked at the screen in confusion. Wondering what happened, I saw Yian in the screen at this time. Although the head is different, it does not seem to be dead. Instead, the body stood up and walked towards his head. See this scene, whether it is Lu Ruhua or Mo Luli, or other spectators on the field. All were amazed. Just reborn from a broken limb. The head has been cut off, but he can still move. If it is a high-level extraordinary person, or some heaven and earth, they can still accept it. But Yian is only at the silver level. The silver level uses such a powerful vitality, and it is not afraid of death at all. They even doubted whether Yian had also fallen into a demon and thus awakened the ability of immortality. If you're not careful, it's almost over. Fortunately the head wasn't damaged. Otherwise, you can only survive by parasitizing your consciousness on others. In the examination area, Yian held his head in both hands. Put your head firmly on your neck. The ability of cells to repair is activated immediately. After a few seconds, his head was reconnected to his body intact. In fact, in terms of Yian's current ability, it won't take long for a simple separation of the body and the head, and the brain will die without blood. But his mycelium is powerful enough. The transport ability brought by the growth sequence allows his hyphae to connect the blood vessels of the brain and the body. This is used to transport blood to ensure an adequate blood supply to the brain. Next is the nervous system brought about by the perception sequence. After the hyphae connect the brain and the body, he can transmit nerve signals through the hyphae to make his body move according to his own will. It's a little sluggish, but overall it's fine. Finally, let the body pick up the head and reinstall it. Of course, there is no problem in directly tying the body and head with mycelium and then installing them on each other. However, he felt that it was more ritualistic to perform it with his own body. That roar just now, it should be him. But what is this? Humans are not human, and monsters are not like monsters. Where did the strange species come from? Install the head. Yian twisted his neck, after confirming that there was no problem. His eyes began to look into the distance, where there is an ominous, tyrannical body that exudes from all over. A figure with a humanoid body, but covered in scales and sharp barbs. After observing for a few seconds, Yian finally saw the remaining half of the other's face. Jiaolong, this guy really degenerates, Yian said without any surprise. Judging from Jiaolong's previous character performance, he was definitely influenced by the origin of symbiosis. In other words, he has a tendency to degenerate. Now completely degenerate, completely expected things. And Avril's degeneration was purely accidental. Galactic spiritual power tides that appear only once in hundreds of years. She even met her on the way to silver. Just really unlucky. This Jiaolong, who is degenerate, wants to come and fight Avril. It's good, not only have to control Avril, I have to prevent Jiaolong from making trouble for me. It looks like I can only be more serious. Yian took a deep breath, looking at the two figures fighting not far away. His eyes sharpened instantly. System, exist. According to my will, I should be able to deduce the next battle. Yian asked inwardly. As you wish. Ding, the real-time battle deduction is on. It is tentatively estimated that the host will be able to resolve the battle within 15 minutes while retaining his strength. It is now recommended that the host attack the degenerate Jiaolong with the martial art, 18 Fist of Dragon Subduing, after 3 seconds. After getting the answer from the system, Yian immediately began to charge up. After 3 seconds, raise your fist. He launched an attack directly towards the fallen Jiaolong. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 47. Chapter 47. Kill Jiaolong, the beast tide is coming. Although the strength of both sides has been promoted to silver, and all of them have fallen. But Jiaolong's defensive ability has improved more obviously. Avril swung the long sword, and it was difficult to leave obvious traces on Jiaolong's body. However, in the face of Avril's constant attacks, Jiaolong could only be forced to defend, after finally fighting back once, forcing Avril back. At this time, Yian rushed up instantly. Boom. Punch down, although Jiaolong was in a rush to defend. But it perfectly resisted Yian's attack. After all, Yian's attack relies on sheer strength. Compared to Avril's sharp sword, Jiaolong is actually not defensive now. Yian couldn't deal any effective damage to him either. Take 3 steps back and hit the second punch. At this time, the system prompts. Yian also immediately took 3 steps back. At this time, Avril slayed with a sword, and happened to be dodged by Yian. And Jiaolong was thinking of attacking Yian. But Avril suddenly approached, so she changed the target to Avril. Good chance, seeing that Jiaolong ignored him. Yian threw a second punch again. This punch hit Jiaolong firmly. But he remained motionless and hardly reacted. As expected of the origin of the dragon. 35. My symbiosis is now just special and has high potential. In terms of personality, compared to the giant dragon angel, it is still far inferior. 99. Yian sighed. At the same time, step back and start charging the third punch. The improved Bajiquan has a total of 18 punches. The first few punches had no effect, and Yian didn't care. After all, as long as it can work later on the line. Because 2 consecutive punches failed to cause damage to Jiaolong. Jiaolong immediately ignored Yian. Instead, she focused her attention on Avril. But the fallen Avril was not so conceited, although she also put most of her attention on Jiaolong. But also often glance at Yian. After all, Yian's fist is ineffective against Jiaolong now. But hitting Avril still worked. Really vigilant. Yian sighed. Then the third punch hits. Avril knew that Yian attacked Zhao Long. Therefore, it was very interesting and did not block. This behavior made Yian frown. After the fall, the IQ is basically negative, and everything is based on instinct. But at this time, Avril's performance doesn't seem to be very good. The other side, Zhao Long, who received Yian's third punch, trembled. He roared angrily, although the third punch still did not hurt him. But the ant in front of him dared to provoke him. This is humiliation to him. Under anger, Zhao Long rushed towards Yian like a wild beast. Yian stood still, but a hyphae pulled him straight into the distance. Dodged Zhao Long's attack. At the same time, under Zhao Long's feet, a large group of mycelium suddenly emerged, surrounded Zhao Long. But the next moment, Zhao Long roared, relying directly on brute force. He broke all the mycelium. Certainly not, including those toxins. It will take at least a few hours to work on him. Yian muttered, I have to say that the dragon is really powerful. Pure power, pure defense, and pure vitality. This makes his symbiote ability want to play a role. Only grind slowly, but now is not the time to take it slow. He has to fight fast. Then, boom bang bang. Accompanied by increasingly louder sounds. Yian throws 3 punches again. Although it is close combat, but under the forecast of the system, Yian has never been able to avoid the opponent's movements perfectly. Then fight back, and Avril on the side has been watching. While observing the battle, he was also silently recovering his spiritual power. This IQ is too high. I actually know the truth of the snipe and the clam fighting for the fisherman's profit. Yian was naturally watching Avril as well. It would be better if it just fell. With the help of the strong in a short period of time, there is still hope for recovery. But after depravity a new consciousness arises. Then the original personality consciousness will quickly dissipate. Now it looks like it's coming soon. But if you want to take Avril out, you still have to solve the trouble of Zhao Long first. 6th punch, although he is still fine. But it started to take the initiative to defend. The next few punches should beat him. Yian thought so. Started to throw the 7th punch. This time Zhao Long changed his expression. Seems to feel pain, but clearly not enough. Yian avoided Zhao Long's monster-like claws. Then hit the 8th punch. A silver-level monster. Even the defensive type couldn't withstand Yian's 8th punch. But Zhao Long faced this punch, although knocked back some distance. There was also a crack in the bone layer like armor. But it's clearly not enough. The power of the dragon's body is not something that humans can easily break through with a single martial skill. Bajikwan. This is already the 8th punch. This Zhao Long was only forced to take a few steps back. Now you handsome apprentice really can't help it. Unless he can suddenly control Avril, and under the premise of not being affected by Zhao Long, he will take Avril to withdraw from the assessment in an instant. 5. But with Avril's current vigilance, it's impossible. Mo Luli said in despair when she saw this picture. The spiritual power that dissipated in her body began to slowly gather again. If Yian really can't do it, she is ready to fight again. Of course, it's not bad that her master can bring the souls of the two back to life. Lu Ruhua on the side said nothing. But looking at her serious expression, she knew that she and Mo Luli thought the same. But it's them. The audience, including the audience, thought Yian's Bajikwan was over. Yian raised his arms again. The 9th punch. Bajikwan shouldn't be 8 fists. Where did the 9th fist come from? It looks like it has been improved. 35. I sensed something was wrong earlier, and thought it was because Yian didn't learn it because his movements were not standard. 5. But now I finally understand that this is an improved Bajikwan. Not only has the movement of the move changed, but the superposition here has also broken through 8 times. So, Yian still has a chance. 35. Not necessarily. Even if it has been improved, the load of Bajikwan on oneself is still obvious to all, and the 9th punch will only make its own backlash deeper. He can be connected even if his head falls. What is the backlash of mere strength? I just hope he can succeed, or else I'll lose 2 top talents. Not to mention waiting until the monster is promoted to gold later. In the audience, a group of people talked about Yian's actions. These people are almost all high-level superhumans. As soon as Yian raised his hand, they could see that Yian's punch was the 9th punch. still repeating the 8th punch. Sure enough, they were right. Yan punched, directly beat Zhao Long out. The power far exceeds the 8th punch. If it goes on like this, the 11th punch should be able to solve it. See the effect of the 9th punch. Yan breathed a sigh of relief. Because he has now learned the 11th punch. Of course, it doesn't mean that the next one will not learn. It was the 11th punch. His arms are nearly dead. Therefore, there is no need for him to learn the 12th punch. Roar, far away. Zhao Long, who was knocked into the air, slowly got up and roared at Yan. The bone layer trouser rack in front of him already has a trace of a spider web. But Yan keenly observed. This trace is slowly being repaired. It will be back to normal in no time. This recovery ability is not bad. Yan shook his arm and said, 9th punch. It made his arm extremely sore. Fortunately, his recovery ability is strong. This sore feeling can be eliminated in 2 or 3 seconds. That's when Yan's voice fell. Zhao Long in the distance rushed over. Take a step back, then sideways and punch the 10th. At this time, the system gives a reminder. Yan immediately started to act. Perfectly followed the system's prompts and avoided Zhao Long's collision. And the 10th punch hit Zhao Long's side. This time, Zhao Long flew directly out of a distance of 100 meters, and spit out a mouthful of blood in the air. Yan also rushed over instantly. At the moment when Zhao Long just got up, the 11th punch hits. This punch, the enormous power made the earth tremble. The surrounding air made a violent explosion because of the vibration. The power of this punch penetrated Zhao Long's body. Let the air on his back fly away instantly, forming a momentary vacuum. Only this time, Zhao Long was not sent flying. It's just that the armor of all the bone layers on the body completely fell off. In front of Zhao Long, a huge pothole sank down. He looked pale and bleeding from the corners of his mouth. Zhao Long, who is no different from death. Yan just breathed a sigh of relief. Moment. A golden light fell from the sky. Yan instantly stepped back. Avoid this light. Only Zhao Long remained in place. Without the protection of bone layer armor, the body was instantly scorched and scorched. It's not bad to die like this. If I don't have to do it, I will cause some trouble. Seeing Zhao Long's miserable appearance, Yan muttered inwardly. Being killed by the fallen Avril seems to be the most correct choice. Although if he kills, there should be no big trouble, but there is absolutely no escape from small trouble. As for saving him, how is that possible? He is no saint. He only cares about himself. The second is the people around you. And then, not anymore. Strangers and enemies are not much different to him. It is nothing more than that the enemy must be killed, and the stranger himself does not need to pay attention to it. Just when Yan was thinking, behind him, an afterimage quickly emerged. Yan didn't turn his head, just bent down and lowered his head. Dodged the blow of Avril's sneak attack. Just like cutting my head off so much. 9. Yan looked at Avril speechless. At the same time, the expression on his face became more and more solemn. Because Avril's IQ performance after her degeneration is getting higher and higher. I know the fear, I know how to be on the sidelines, I know the snipe and muscle fight. Know when is the best time to start a sneak attack. And just that sword, not for his neck, but his head. What Avril wanted was to cut his head in half. The reason why she chose so. Obviously, he learned the lesson of cutting off his neck, and Yan is fine. Not a hit. Avril did not give up. Instead, he did his best work. Attacking Yan one after another. Normal people don't say they are avoiding. Just Avril's dazzling attack can make people dizzy. But so attacked, Yan avoided it just right every time. At the same time, he is also looking for opportunities to use various means to try to subdue Avril. That's it. Some fight down. Neither of the two can help each other. Avril also chose to temporarily separate from Yan. Staring at Yan, his hands suddenly changed to holding a sword. Immediately after, another sword struck, just on the way. Avril's body froze a few times. The last moment was swallowed by a touch of golden light. The whole person disappeared completely. Stealth. Yan's expression became more solemn. But okay. He can sense through the mycelium. Know Avril's location. Avril had just chosen to attack. But the moment of invisibility, it stopped immediately. Then he slowly chose to go around Yan's side. If it weren't for her stepping on the mycelium, Yian didn't know that she would suddenly choose to slowly walk around to her side. Instead, he felt that he would definitely take advantage of stealth and slash himself for the first time. Wait until you are caught off guard and choose to dodge indiscriminately. If she takes advantage of this attack again, she will never be able to escape. So smart, but unfortunately, you met me. Yian turned his head instantly. Look at the position where Avril was hidden. The originally black eyes turned into an illusory color. In Yian's field of vision, he saw a mass of spiritual power, and the silhouette of a man covered in psychic power. The location of that group of spiritual power is Avril's brain. And see the outline, it is the weak spiritual power flowing through the nervous system in Avril's body. Avril realized that she had been discovered, also launched an attack immediately. Although Yian couldn't see the sword in Avril's hand, but you can see where she is and where she is holding the sword. Coupled with the deduction of the system, Yian easily avoided Avril's attack. Then the mycelium was summoned and dragged Avril's feet. I always wanted to sneak attack on me, and when I was discovered, I hurriedly launched an attack. Although the IQ is not low, there is always a weakness, Yian said with a smile. The captured Avril also showed her true shape at the moment. She waved her long sword, trying to cut off the comfort on her feet. But at this time around her, countless mycelium wrapped her in all directions. Although cut off the mycelium on the feet, but her body was entangled again. Find a way to cut the mycelium on your body, but the rest of the body is entangled again. It's time for success. Far away, suddenly there was a palpitating feeling. Yian turned to look. That Zhao Long, who he thought was dead, stood up again. His body began to wriggle, start to change. This process can only be said to be disgusting. It's like there are countless maggots twisting together. Then Zhao Long no longer had a human form. The whole body was covered with a flowing black substance. The body is also rapidly expanding. The surrounding spiritual energy poured into his body crazily. A huge illusory figure composed of spiritual power slowly emerged. It looked like a western dragon. Huge wings cover the sky. And Zhao Long's body continued to grow bigger following this figure. In the end, he turned into a giant dragon. All this changes. It all happened in an instant. Yian wanted to stop it, but found that his mycelium didn't work at all. It turns out that his symbiote is a black dragon. This situation should be that the soul has been completely corroded by the source of the symbiote. 5. I knew that I didn't die completely, and I just made up for it. In order to avoid trouble, it leads to more trouble. 39. Not worth it. Yian sighed. He would rather take Avril out of the assessment directly. But it takes 3 seconds to activate the ring. Who knows if Zhao Long will attack during this period and interrupt him to activate the ring. So Yian can only solve this Zhao Long first. But just when he was about to do it, Avril, who had just been trapped by him, summoned a golden light again. Burn off all the mycelium. I knew it would be dragged to the ground. Yian sighed a little tiredly. But Avril just ran away not far. Suddenly a hand pressed on Avril's forehead. Avril suddenly calmed down. Look at the person who suddenly appeared. Yian knew the identity of the other party immediately. But he still pretended not to know. Just call me Wei Na. This child is degenerate, do you want me to help you deal with it? Wei Na said with a pure smile. And I think there is a possibility of rescue. So it's not necessary anymore. Just help me suppress it for a while. Yian shook his head speechlessly and said, with a pure smile on his face, he said such terrible words. This woman is really weird. Especially, Yian didn't sense the arrival of the other party at all. That is, she avoided the perception of her own hyphae. With a slap on Avril's forehead, Avril can be subdued. Real women are absolutely outrageous. But I have other things. 35. That giant dragon was my target, he hurt several of my team members when he fell. I'm here to get revenge on him. Wei Na said with a small and serious face. Don't tell me, this expression is very cute. There is a feeling of natural stay. But, judging from Yian's period of time, long-term voyeurism, secretly collected information. This woman is definitely not natural. How about this, stop your junior sister first. 39. When I get my revenge, I will help you subdue her. How about it? Wei Na said thoughtfully. Forehead. It's better than this, you continue to suppress, and I will help you get revenge. How? Yian thought for a while and replied. It was difficult to completely control Avril. He didn't want to let her get out of trouble again. What if you can't catch it? Well. You can. Then please. Wei Na smiled again. Yian was stunned for a moment, but immediately reacted again. His eyes regained clarity. Sorry, I didn't control my ability. Wei Na looked at Yian, smiled embarrassedly and apologized. Fine. Yian shook his head. He also knew about Wei Na's uncontrollable ability. After all, stealing and collecting her information is not a day or two. Now this Wei Na is only occasionally uncontrollable, and it has been calculated. I laughed once before, and my ability was activated once. And the reason why Yian collects data for so long? Definitely not because she's too pretty. It's because her intuition is very powerful. Every time she could sense that someone was spying on her. So Yian became more and more curious about her, so he increased his efforts to collect information. Just when Yian was talking to Wei Na, the other side, the degenerate Zhao Long has completely transformed into a huge black dragon. Just this black dragon, not as domineering as Yian's previous film and television works. Although it is huge, it gives a great sense of oppression in the field of vision. But this black dragon can only be described as ugly. It has nothing to do with arrogance. It's like combining filth with filthy minced meat. Except no smell. Looks like I have to lose an arm today. Yian sighed helplessly. Then take the initiative to go to the black dragon. Black dragon also noticed Yian's behavior. Its eyes exuded anger and hatred, staring at Yian stubbornly. Then opened his mouth, accompanied by a roar. A black flame was also sprayed out. Face this dragon breath flame. Yian did not evade in the slightest. Just in front of him, a huge and heavy piece of land suddenly stood up. Count the black flames that the opponent spewed out. It's cool to have a system. I never thought I could play like this. Look at your own perfect operation, Yian said proudly. Naturally, this piece of land cannot be erected for no reason. Instead, it is supported by countless hyphae. Originally, he wanted to escape quickly. But under the reminder of the system, he gave up dodging. Take this action. Now, it's my turn. Yian started rushing towards the black dragon. After the other party realized that the dragon's breath was useless, he also took the initiative to pounce on Yian. Although the black dragon is huge, Yian's strength is difficult to compete with. But for Yian, it's even more cumbersome. After systematic deduction. In addition, the mycelium sticking out everywhere trapped Yian and dragged Yian everywhere. Hailong couldn't touch Yian at all. And Yian is also constantly looking for opportunities, punching punches and punches again superimposed on the opponent. At the same time, those hyphae could not control the black dragon. But it can also hinder its vision. Let Yian fight back more easily. Boom. 35. Boom. Boom. The 7th punch, the 8th punch, the 9th punch. The original 9th punch had a certain effect. But this time, the 9th punch hit the black dragon. It's just that it lost a piece of scale. And this scale armor, it grows out in an instant. Roar. The black dragon roared angrily. Start flapping your wings to get ready to take off. Want to find Yian hiding under it. But Yian didn't give this chance. Directly to the back of the black dragon. 10th punch. Aim at the black dragon's wings and smash it down. Although it failed to remove the wings of the black dragon. But this punch also caused the black dragon to fall to the ground. Then, 11th punch. Boom. Another incomparable bang. This punch completely smashed one of the black dragon's wings. But that's all. With the current recovery speed of the black dragon, the wings can be recovered soon. But Yian didn't stop there. After the 11th punch was out. Although his arm is temporarily as if it was abolished. But take a breather. Cellular repair this powerful ability to restore the body. To get his arm moving again. Then, another punch. The black dragon who just stood up staggered and almost fell to the ground. Another wing is also broken. Yian's arm, scrapped again. After a few seconds, Yian endured the pain and waved his arm again. This punch smashed the cervical vertebra of the black dragon's back. Although a punch hole was smashed. But killing the black dragon is still far from enough. Sure enough, one arm must be completely abolished. Yian sighed again. From the very beginning, he felt that with the power of the 11th punch. Hard to kill. Now the facts have proved that it is indeed difficult to kill. Although this black dragon is not gold, but its vitality, its defense, can be stronger than some gold-level monsters. Then, Yian raised his arms again. Just this time. Yian didn't smash down immediately, because he's learning the 12th punch. Under the guidance of the system, his fist-swinging posture and spiritual powers running root. And the control of power is constantly adjusting. At the same time, a root mycelium tightly wrapped Yian's raised right hand. Even one layer is not enough. It is fully wrapped 10 layers. Any more will affect Yian's actions. So 10 layers is the best choice. And he did this, in fact, to better protect his arm. The 12th punch is too powerful. His arms can't handle it at all. I just hope that the arm doesn't explode without any slag left. During this process, because Yian has no movement, the black dragon was able to get up temporarily. Just after it got up, it was about to throw off Yian on its back. Yian instantly threw the 12th punch. The punch was thrown. Black dragon instantly fell to the ground. There is a hole in the back. This pothole directly penetrated the body of the black dragon. And the earth at the feet of the black dragon. It collapsed instantly. The soil on the ground was also shaken and flew high into the air. A ripple of power also follows the land, spreading to the distance like a wave. And at this moment, the 10-layered mycelium on Yian's right hand instantly turned into countless pieces. The flesh and blood of the entire arm also splattered everywhere in an instant. There are only bones that have been shaken out of countless cracks because of the powerful force. I didn't save my arm in the end. Fortunately, the bones are preserved. It saves a lot of effort to fix. Yian sighed. At the same time, the hyphae clung to it again, and sent up the few finger bones that had been shaken and put them together. Then the entire right hand bone was wrapped. Injury of this magnitude. At least 10 minutes. Leaving a piece of bone outside during this time doesn't look good. And the bones fall off easily. So it's better to wrap it up. However, I didn't expect this black dragon to die. Yian frowned slightly and looked at the black dragon under his feet. Normally, this black dragon with a volume of 20 or 30 meters. In the dragon clan, it is only a little bigger than a baby. The body is penetrated, and it is absolutely to die. But this black dragon is much weirder. Isn't corruption not just being devoured by the symbiote? Is this feeling more and more like a legendary, evil thing? Yian murmured strangely, but right now this black dragon is not dead. But it's not that different from death. Its body was penetrated by Yian's powerful force. Yian directly manipulated the hyphae into its body. The abilities of the 3 sequences of parasitism, absorption, and toxin are released together. Start absorbing and trying to kill this black dragon completely. This Yian is so powerful. 39. The power of that punch just now is comparable to gold. Unfortunately, the load was too heavy, and the arm exploded. It's just that he has a strong recovery ability, and someone else wouldn't dare to use this trick at all. 99. In the audience, see this scene of Yian killing the black dragon with one punch. Many people expressed shock. If Yian was worth paying attention to before, it's because of his weird actions. So now everyone is paying attention to him. Absolutely his incredible abilities, and unrivaled power. What about the dragon, killed with one punch, although the price is not small? But think about Yian's heaven-defying recovery ability. It seems that the price is not too big. If I read it right, the punch just now was the 12th punch. I didn't expect someone to hit Bajiquan to the 12th punch one. The founder of Bajiquan also said that he can improve to the 11th punch at the highest. But because martial arts are foreign objects, I am afraid that people will be addicted to the power of martial arts, so they do not choose to improve. Now not only has someone improved and succeeded, but they have also broken through the 11th punch. I really want to know which martial arts master improved it. 35. At this time, the president of Yanyan Guild said, Yian is doing well now. But Yian's previous behavior made him not optimistic about Yian. So it's better than marveling at Yian's power. He is more concerned about the improvement of Bajiquan. Hehe, you have to ask Lu Ruhua, Instructor Lu. At this time, the vice president said with a smile. The president of the Yanyan Guild suddenly lost his voice. This means that I don't want to ask. After all, having a relationship with a person like Lu Ruhua has cost him a lot. Okay, this time I believe that this martial skill was not changed by you. Mo Luli on the other side looked at Lu Ruvua and said. Just when Yian hit the 9th punch, she expressed her suspicion that it was Lu Ruvua's improved Bajikwan. But now after the 12th punch appeared, she rejected the idea. She still knew what Lu Ruvua was like. Bajikwan improvement Lu Ruvua can do. But to exceed the original author's estimate, it is definitely impossible. The focus now is not Bajikwan, but this Zhao Long. Don't you think he feels very special when he is completely degraded? 99. Lu Ruvua frowned slightly. It's true that the black dragon is not so ugly, nor so weak. Mo Luli thought about it and said, I didn't say looks, of course it has something to do with it. Forget it, I'll take a look. Lu Ruvua was speechless to Mo Luli's answer. Finally, he slightly raised his forehead, expressing that he did not want to say more. Shout, it's so mysterious. Mo Luli groaned. Then suddenly, thinking of something, he said, but then we have to go back to Zuxing. 35. This time it seems that my apprentice is holding back, but in fact, gold-level monsters will appear in a few days, and they will be more dangerous if they don't leave. 35. So what are you going to do with that handsome student of yours? I can't stay in Zuxing with you. Mo Luli looked curious. Go to the endless battlefield to join the Free Army, or I will find someone to write a letter of recommendation and let him enter the Great Guild. And you? Lu Ruvua asked back. Then just like you. At that time, I won't be able to leave Zuxing, so I can only leave Avril to your student to take care of. Looking at his performance this time, I'm relieved to leave it to him. It's this time, we don't know how long we have to stay in Zuxing. After a few decades, our cultivation will go backwards. Mo Luli said with a slight sigh. If the cultivation base goes backwards, then cultivate again. But you're not afraid that your apprentice will be kidnapped this time? Lu Ruvua said with a playful smile. Oh, now I can't wait for him to do it. Well, actually, I think I can too. After all, that student of yours is quite handsome and talented. Mo Luli said half-jokingly. Go away, how old are you? You still think about old grass and tender cows. 35. Lu Ruvua looked disgusted. Then he ignored Mo Luli. Watch the assessment screen attentively. In the examination area, Yian rested on the black dragon's body. I felt less and less spiritual power in my body. Take out a few crystal nuclei and swallow them whole. After the spiritual power in the body is replenished, the recovery speed of the arm has also become a lot faster. As for the black dragon under his feet, although the flesh and blood kept squirming and trying to recover, but the body dies faster. Soon only an empty shell remained. Is it still not dead? What's the situation? The last empty shell was deliberately maintained by Yian. He didn't want people to see what he did to the black dragon's corpse. But found, even if it gives birth to an empty shell, this black dragon is still giving birth to flesh and blood. I can feel that its soul is not dead. At this time, Wei Na's voice came from afar. Yian opened spiritual perception. Sure enough, I saw a huge and dark spiritual body. Or rather, the soul. At the same time in this dark spiritual body, there is also a weak and illusory spiritual body that may be destroyed at any time. Since it's a spiritual body, psychasthenia, spiritual parasitism, spiritual absorption, Yian activates a set of combined abilities. Impair mental state with toxins, parasitic growth in the spirit, and then absorb the other party's spiritual power. In Yian's field of vision, when the parasitic spiritual body robe grows, it begins to absorb spiritual power quickly. That huge black spiritual body starts to weaken rapidly. Finally, the wrapped illusory spiritual body suddenly changed, ripping apart the black spiritual body like crazy. In the end, the black spirit body completely disappeared. And that illusory spiritual body, he stopped moving, and gradually transformed into a familiar Yian appearance. Zhao Long, I'm relieved too. Pay attention to the Spirit Master, pay attention to evil disasters. 99. Zhao Long glanced at Yian with a complicated expression. The spiritual body collapsed instantly. Then the disintegrated mental power was sucked away by Yian's spores. Spirit Lord, evil disaster, a mortal enemy of the human race, a mortal enemy of the 10,000 races. Can these two be mixed together? But the performance of this black dragon just now seems to be an evil disaster. Yian was lost in thought. Although they all say that people are about to die, their words are also good. But Yian was not stupid enough to believe Zhao Long's words directly. But by comparison, you can see that Zhao Long doesn't seem to be lying. Just the Spirit Master. It is impossible for the Spirit Master himself to dare to come here to make trouble. The #1 academy for the human race, it must be said that there are no god-level powerhouses guarding it. He doesn't believe it, and not long ago, the newcomer was just discovered by the human race, and he was definitely caught and beaten. At this time, he didn't dare to come out and swing. Really have the courage. He, who has been lurking in the sphere of influence of the human race for so many years, will not only do some small damage. After all, it is a matter of minutes for a god-level powerhouse to crush a survival star. And at most he just slaughtered the city, although it is still a big deal in the eyes of mortals. But compare the vision and means of the god-level powerhouse. You can see his timidity and caution. Therefore, the Spirit Master himself can be excluded. If it's not the Spirit Master, but it has something to do with the Spirit Master. That is the bishop. That's a good thing. 35. Thought here. Yian suddenly smiled. Others hated the Spirit Bishop. If someone who knew the Bishop of the Spirit came here to make trouble, it would definitely be disgusting. Then I felt that I was unlucky, and I ran into Bishop Ling. But Yian is different. He is happy. Very happy. I can't even wish for a few more spiritual bishops. In this way he can absorb more divinity. As for evil, Yian doesn't know much. I only know that it is a very strange and hostile existence by all races. It can be said, on the endless battlefield of all races. If evil happens, basically, the wise tribes will stop fighting with each other. Let's work together to deal with evil. It is enough to see the degree of harm of evil disasters, and the hatred of all ethnic groups. Let's take a step by step. If the evil disaster really broke out, it wouldn't be my turn to worry. Yian muttered. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 49. Chapter 49. The Flame Godhead, the Filthy Dragon. Although not dignified, but this wasteland giant crocodile is also quite self-aware. Seeing the tragic death of the wind demon wolf, he knew that he was not an opponent at all. And not stupid at all. Also known to feint and escape. You're still planning to run in front of me, it's not giving me face tilde. Yian snorted coldly. Thoughts move. In front of the wasteland giant crocodile. A gigantic mycelium puppet appeared. This time the doll is much taller than the last time. Compared with the size of the giant crocodile in the wasteland, it is not inferior. Look at the wasteland giant crocodile running. The doll also immediately punched out. The giant crocodile in the wasteland also made an emergency stop immediately, turned around and twitched its tail towards the puppet. Next moment, the puppet was pumped out. Although the wasteland giant crocodile was punched, it did not suffer any damage. But when it was about to leave, the second doll has appeared. Seeing this, the wasteland giant crocodile turned around immediately. Followed by the third. Now, it either went back to face Yian, or face the three dolls. Recall the strange state of the wind demon wolf before its death. The wasteland giant crocodile directly chose to fight against these three dolls. Unfortunately, it's okay to hit one, but three. The wasteland crocodile is no match at all. Swipe one with the tail, and the second puppet will jump up. When it bites the second one, the third one has come. And it found. The power of this doll is powerful punch by punch. It might not feel like it at first. But after a few times, it couldn't take it anymore. Roar. Played for a while, the wasteland crocodile found himself a little powerless. Seeing it is getting worse, the wasteland giant crocodile suddenly roared at several other monsters. It seems that he wants other gold-level monsters onlookers to help. Several gold-level monsters looked at each other. Suddenly, the earth began to rise. One after another, gray withered branches protruded from the ground. Trapped Yian's puppet. See this scene. The other monsters who were still hesitating before also attacked Yian one after another. Finally stop watching the show. Yian smiled contemptuously. Although for monsters, humans are the primary enemy. But they prefer to take advantage of the fishermen. Now, they also discovered that Yian was too powerful. In addition, the ghost tree took the lead. Therefore, they followed the choice to deal with Yian. Fire attack, it's still a little troublesome. So it's you next. Yian stretched out his hand and pointed. Roaming in the sky, the goshawk immediately became unstable and fell headlong. The huge body stirred up a cloud of dust. The flames of its feathers ignited the nearby grasses. Sleeping curse is not bad. Yian commented on it. Both are at the gold level, and the skills can take effect immediately. It's not easy and not bad, but very powerful, especially in the ever-changing battlefield. The ability to immediately put the enemy to sleep immediately is an absolute killer. At the same time, Yian solved the prairie flies. On the battlefield in the rear, a doll trapped by withered vines immediately turned into countless mycelium, freed from the bondage. Immediately after that, the doll was reformed. At the same time, countless mycelium entangled the dead vine and began to use the curse of corrosion. Next is engulfing and digestion. The ghost tree in the distance felt this corrosive attack, and immediately showed a painful grimace. But Yian didn't plan to let it go. Countless mycelia cling to its vines. Wrap the ghost tree tightly. The corrosive ability began to eat away at the opponent's body little by little. Also at this time, bloodthirsty elk and thorn dragon turtle also attacked. The bloodthirsty elk summoned a blood-red fog. In it, Yian found that his body was melting a little bit. Even those hyphae. The thorn dragon turtle is curled up together. The long spikes on the back of the body flew out. He stabbed towards Yian. Don't worry, both of you. 9. It's your turn. 35. Yian said lightly. Waved. Numerous mycelium entangled the remaining two monsters. It's just, when entangled with the thorn dragon turtle, Yian could feel that wounds were constantly appearing in his body. The natural ability of the thorn dragon turtle is really a counter-injury. In addition, it is born with strong vitality, under the same level of circumstances. 9. Even if you die just by counter-injury, the enemy is almost too fast. But unfortunately, met me. Yian analyzed. If the thorn dragon turtle is replaced by a gold-level extraordinary person, maybe he just took a look and chose to leave, unless treated. Otherwise, it will not do anything to the thorn dragon turtle at all. But for Yian, this kind of opponent is pure sandbag. As for the bloodthirsty elk, it is indeed a hassle. The scope of this blood mist is very large, and the speed of dissolving the body is not slow. But unfortunately, Yian recovered faster. Including those hyphae that were dissolved, also recovered at a faster rate. Especially after dissolving the substance, his mycelium absorbs it. Basically, as much as it dissolves, he absorbs it back. No waste at all. Forget it, I won't play with you guys. Seeing that the surrounding gold-level monsters have been controlled by him, Yian was no longer interested in practicing his hands. Afterwards, the direct firepower was turned on. The bloodthirsty elk and the thorn dragon turtle were quickly wiped out by Yian's spiritual curse. The branches and vines of the ghost tree are also frantically scrambling at the same time. At this time, 1/3 of its body has been dissolved. Then Yian attacked at full speed. The remaining 2/3 also dissolved quickly. The other side, the Liaoyuan goshawk also died completely in its sleep. The flame on his body quickly went out. The giant crocodile in the wasteland was punched down by 3 puppets and killed alive. At last, countless mycelium, woven into a huge mouth. He swallowed all the corpses of the remaining monsters and began to digest them quickly inside. It's all settled, then. Yian turned his eyes to the ground. At the same time, spiritual exploration is activated. In an instant, the ground was originally uneventful. In Yian's eyes, it immediately turned into an illusory layer. In the layers, Yian sees Kugods lurking in the ground. Running pretty fast, but useless. 39. Yian stared at the spiritual body of the Quaggoa. Countless mycelium began to surge. Penetrates underground. Finally, when the Kugods sense something is wrong, countless mycelium, already firmly, surrounded it. Kugo also wanted to control the rock to fight back, but haven't had time to react. It was directly caught by Yian. The digger that was pulled out. The moment he saw Yian, he immediately screamed. Suddenly there was an attack. On the ground, stone pillars appeared. But they haven't had time to fully emerge. It was mercilessly cut off by Yian's mycelium. Countless rubble rolled down. Seeing this, the digger immediately controlled the gravel and attacked Yian again. But this time, Yian just let the mycelium stand up to form a wall, and all the attacks were blocked. At the silver level, mycelium is not strong enough, so it will be broken by these ordinary stones. But now these ordinary soil and gravel don't let his mycelium do anything at all. Desperate, then I'll give you a chance. Looking at the burrowing beast struggling but unable to do anything, Yi An's face showed a cat and mouse smile. The mycelium entangling the quagga immediately loosened. The diggers got their chance. It also immediately drilled towards the ground. Although it is not small in size, it is 10 meters long and 3 meters wide. But the talent of its race is to dig holes, and especially it has awakened the original ability to manipulate rocks. So in the blink of an eye, the digger ran to a depth of 20 or 30 meters underground. Then, just when it wants to continue down, the tail was entangled by Yi An's hyphae. Then immediately pulled up. It's a pity, it still doesn't work. Why don't you try again? Yi An snorted disdainfully. Let go of the quagga again. The next thing was no accident. The kugo, which had just run away without a shadow, was picked up by Yi An again. After several repetitions, the digger knew it couldn't get away. So when Yi An released it, it didn't run. Instead, he grinned at Yi An and yelled. Moment. The earth in a range of about 300 meters under Yi An's feet. Into a giant whirlpool, and the speed at which the flow of this vortex rotates is unbelievably fast from the very beginning. It turns out that there is a real ability hidden. But alas, it didn't work for me. 5. Yi An waved his hand. Countless mycelium actively stretched out into the vortex. Wrapped in every inch of soil and gravel, this vortex was stopped abruptly. Quote. See this scene. The digger made a sound like a mouse. Immediately after that, he went into the ground again. But Yi An didn't give him a chance this time, because he was tired of playing too. In fact, the digger is just like this, he mainly wants to take revenge on the other party's mentality. After all, the diggers at that time were playing tricks on him like a cat playing a mouse. Really want to play. Avril and Lena, aren't they more fragrant than any monsters? Then, next moment, the diggers were tightly bound by the mycelium. Then the ability of dissolving all things is activated. The cutty beasts that haven't died directly began to be digested and absorbed by Yi An's hyphae. When the diggers are completely dead, its body has already lost half of it. Invincible, is lonely, destroyed all gold-level monsters. All the silver-level monsters became nourishment as early as when he was promoted to gold. Bronze level is not worth mentioning at all. At this time, Yi An also stretched out happily. No, don't be careless. There are still enemies. The spiritual bishop, there are still possible evil disasters, I still have to pay attention. Yi An pondered again, just when Yi An thought so. A deafening sound suddenly erupted in the distance. The entire assessment site trembled. Yi An immediately set his sights on the core area of the assessment site. Even if he is still some distance away from the core area. But you can still clearly see that catastrophic scene. The mountains of flames erupted completely. Countless magma was sprayed from the sky and began to fall. It also contains numerous rubble. Next, from the fractured crater, more magma began to flow down rapidly. At the same time, Yi An felt a strange energy wave sweep across. If you don't feel it carefully, you may think it is the aftermath of the vibration. But Yi An was keenly aware of the difference. That is a more powerful existence, the aura that it exudes. At the same time, Yi An also keenly noticed something that surprised him. He sensed the breath of Godhead. Just under that hot magma, there is a huge Godhead fragment. So what's the situation? If the process is normal, the students who will be assessed will enter the Flame Mountains tomorrow. Arriving there basically marks the passing of the assessment. All that's left is to compete for the top 10 prizes placed in the Flame Mountains. 35. So it can be said that the Flame Mountains are safe, but the environment is not good. But now that the volcano is erupting, there are more powerful monsters, which is not related to safety. Especially, after the eruption of the volcano, all the students are basically unable to enter. So, it was an accident. At this point, Yi An suddenly wanted to understand something. Perhaps there is a powerful monster in the Flame Mountains, and it has been dormant all the time. Now the tidal explosion of the galaxy's spiritual power has allowed it to be promoted to a certain extent. Therefore, the process of promotion detonated the mountains of flames. It should be so, but it doesn't have to be that way. Perhaps there is something else hidden. After all, the spiritualists are also lurking here, maybe it's their handwriting. This monster doesn't seem to want to leave the range of the flame mountains. It should be a special creature of the fire element. Since that's the case, let's take advantage of the fact that it doesn't run around, and it's not a good idea to solve other safety hazards first. Yian said righteously. With an overwhelming sense of justice, he naturally has to deal with the black sheep among human beings' spiritual bishops. Then you get paid some interest. For example, the Godhead fragments of the Spirit Master. Speaking of which, the guardian of the newcomer's training ground at that time was only in the realm of kings, so he dared to attack the Spirit Master. It seems that it should not be that the Spirit Master is too stretched, but the Godhead is too scattered, resulting in poor strength. But a God-level powerhouse, why would he be so self-mutilating to do things in human territory? And it doesn't work that well. Yian muttered. Of course, even so. The Spirit Master is not someone who can be bullied by an existence in the realm of kings. Although Yian didn't understand the situation behind. But with the hatred of the human race against the Spirit Master, the king who dared to take the initiative should also be the powerhouse of the Contact family in advance. Otherwise, the Spirit Master's counterattack, his existence as a king, really can't bear it. After all, no matter how rubbish the god is, it is also a god. In short, I have to pay attention in the future. If I go the way of the Spirit Lord, I can't pull my hips like he does. Yian continued to murmur. Although he felt that there is a high probability that he would not follow the old path of the Spirit Master. Not to mention that the Spirit Master is a bit too stretched on his hips, in addition to his life-saving ability. It was Yian who felt that he had a system, and he had a lesson from the Spirit Master. You should walk out a better path than the Spirit Lord. Forget it, don't think about it anymore, the road ahead is long. Yian shook his head. Stop thinking about things that are currently useless. Then the mind moved slightly. A giant puppet forms. At the same time, he gently held him in the palm of his hand, and then began to rush towards the distance. Soon, Yian came to the meeting point of the academy. Many students saw the arrival of the puppets, and they were like enemies. Show them clearly when there is a person standing on the puppet. It was a relief. Brother. At this time, Avril's voice came. Yian asked the puppet to put himself down. After he landed on the ground, Avril also ran over immediately. He looked at Yian with admiration in his eyes. Senior brother, have you been promoted to the gold level? Avril stared at Yian and asked. Yian nodded indifferently. It just seemed like something not worth mentioning. The admiration on Avril's face was even more intense. She is arrogant by nature and disapproves of her peers. But she really admired her brother. Yian's fighting power and talent have far surpassed her. Especially this senior brother, who is so handsome, takes special care of her, and even almost gave his life for her. So she now not only admires Yian, but also has gratitude and admiration for Yian. In that case, those gold-level monsters. Although Avril had guessed the result, she couldn't help but ask. I killed them all, but it's not over yet, Yian said softly. Then he looked at the short girl who claimed to be fifth in the standings. Got you. Suddenly, Yian smiled lightly, reaching out a hand to Hook, a student behind the short girl. His feet were tied directly by the mycelium, and he hung upside down in front of Yian. Who are you? Why are you shooting at me? Let me go. The student who was hanged by Yian. There was confusion in his eyes. But still pretending to be angry and puzzled, he started yelling. Hurry up and stop, or... At this time, the short girl also spoke up. Although she is now clear, the person in front of her has been promoted to gold, solved the problem of monsters, and saved everyone. But this is also not the case. Yian can act recklessly but fundamentally. At least she didn't allow Yian to hurt people for no reason. Otherwise what? Don't let me go, or is it bad for me? Yian replied with a smile. At the same time, his own breath dissipated. The huge pressure directly changed the face of the short girl, and her body began to tremble involuntarily. Ha ha ha, don't be afraid, I'm joking with you. Seeing the other party's fearful, yet very stubborn face, Yian burst into laughter. This short girl is not in a bad mood. Just a little stupid and a little arrogant. Yian couldn't help but want to play tricks. Then Yian's eyes turned to the man who was hanged upside down by him. Then the mycelium was handed over, something similar to his own smart bracelet. I'll give you a choice, or you'll tell me how to get what's inside. 99. Either I beat you to death and ask you again how to get things out. 5. Yian looked at the man who was hanged upside down by him and said, "Why, here are some of my private things, why should I let you take them out?" The other party snorted coldly. Yian didn't continue talking nonsense, and directly manipulated the mycelium, penetrating the opponent's calf. At the same time, it began to release a little toxin, slowly corroding each other's legs. Although his poison ability evolved into a curse. But that doesn't mean he lost the ability to use poison. It's just that the ability can be used in a more advanced way. You stop, watching the screams of his own team members. The short girl immediately stopped her. He didn't want to start. But before he moved, a long sword appeared on his neck. You can try to go one step further. 5. Avril said sharply. Although I don't know why Yian suddenly attacked this person. But there must be his reasons. And Avril naturally has to protect her senior brother. Especially when it comes to women, his senior brother's reputation is not very good. If you're a woman yourself, it doesn't matter. Of course, there are also some other careful thoughts, such as not letting other women get close to Yian and so on. Quote. The short girl bowed her head slightly, looking at Avril's long sword in surprise and didn't know what to say. At the speed just now, she almost only saw an afterimage for a moment. Immediately after her own life, she ran into Avril's hands. Who is this woman and why is she so powerful? The short girl had doubts in her heart. Yian is strong, after all, he was promoted to gold. But the woman in front of me is obviously on the same level as me. But you can take your own life at your fingertips. Are you wondering why I'm so good? I might as well tell you that the standings in your mouth is a joke in my eyes. Although I am the second place, the first place is not my opponent at all. So don't think that you are as good as fifth in the standings, you are no different from those mediocre people in my eyes. I didn't even notice your name. Avril looked at each other proudly and said, "My name is Yi Wenqiu. And no matter what the ranking is, it's not the reason for you to attack your companions." 9. The short girl glared at Avril and said, although the words are quite sharp. But the momentum was noticeably weaker. Looks like it was really hit. Then why don't you think about it? Why did we suddenly shoot at a person? Is it okay to be idle and want to do bad things to relieve boredom? Avril said contemptuously. This kind of person is not strong enough and has honey juice confidence. IQ doesn't look like much either. Don't even ask why. Then why? When Yi Wenqiu heard Avril say this, he immediately asked. Just look at it. Avril also didn't know what Yian was going to do. So that's all I can say. At this time, Yian was still asking how to turn it on. But the other party just kept silent. After all, once what's inside is exposed, he will surely die, and although he is suffering now, at least he can live. Don't speak yet, then don't blame me. Yian's tone was indifferent. Torturing the other side will not work. Then direct mind control. Although spiritualists are fanatical believers, very strong-willed and difficult to manipulate. But the gap between the two of them is too big. Try a few times and you will always succeed. This thing, it's actually very simple to open. Let me come. Just when Yian was ready to take control, Wei Na, who had been watching the play, suddenly spoke up. See Wei Na speak. Yian didn't even think about it, and immediately handed the thing to Wei Na. After Wei Na took the item, randomly fiddled a few times, finally injected a little spiritual power. Immediately, the storage thing exploded. Then many things scattered on the ground. It's so skillful. Yian sighed. Wei Na showed a somewhat embarrassed expression. Hee, practice makes perfect. 5. Practice makes perfect. Yian glanced at Wei Na. This kind of operation can make perfect. What was she doing before? Before awakening, isn't it possible to use spiritual power? Although very suspicious, but Yian also knew that now was not the time to pursue these matters. Instead, he looked at the items on the ground and began to rummage. These things are really familiar. Soon, Yian picked up a crystal and smiled. Commonly used by spiritualists. There are different formations depicted in it, which can be used as long as a little spiritual power is injected. The last time he was a newcomer, he got one. But this time, it's all over the place. Of course, Yian wasn't looking for these items. It's the Godhead fragment of the Spirit Master. After throwing away the array crystal, Yian followed the induction and finally found what he wanted in a small purse. This small purse actually has the function of concealing the breath, it seems to be cautious enough. Yian was playing with the Spirit Lord's divine shards. However, it is a pity that covering up cannot completely eliminate the breath. Based on Yian's familiarity with the divinity of the Spirit Lord, even if there is only a trace left, it is enough for him to notice. Is there anything else you want to say now? Like your plans and what you did? In this case, I can promise not to continue torturing you. Yian held the Godhead fragment, shook it in front of the student and said, I cannot understand what you say. When the assessment is over, I will definitely go to the federal government to sue you. The other party's eyes were obviously flustered, but still gritted his teeth and refused to admit it. Sue me, tell me what? First of all, in this assessment, the Academy allows competition, which means I don't kill you as a precondition, other behaviors are basically okay. 5. Secondly, you, a spiritual bishop, dare to sue me. Yian sneered. As soon as this word comes out, Avril and the short Yi Wenshou were stunned. Spiritualist, how could he be a spiritual bishop? He fought side by side before, and even nearly got seriously injured. 9. Yi Wenshou said in disbelief. Do not believe. Yian came to Yi Wenshou with a fragment of the Spirit Master's Godhead. Then, with his own power, he activated the fragments of the Spirit Master's Godhead. At this moment, Yi Wenshou's vision changed instantly. She saw an unknown, terrifying behemoth. She experienced a huge gap between dust and the universe of stars. Spirit, Lord, Yi Wenshou murmured subconsciously. Although she didn't know why, she immediately recognized that the great existence in front of her was the Spirit Lord. At the same time, at this moment, her soul seemed to freeze. Reason also seems to start to collapse because of inability to understand and feel ease. Just when she thought she was going to die, all the feeling vanished in an instant. Her collapsed sanity instantly recovered, and her vision immediately returned to the status quo. Spirit Lord, really Spirit Lord. Yi Wenshou kept muttering with some dementia. It's all right, it'll be fine later. Avril looked at Yi Wenshou's state suspiciously. Yian explained with a smile. This woman is too conceited. Yian also deliberately made her suffer. It didn't do any harm to her. And the other side. The man who was hanged upside down by Yian also fell into madness in an instant. Who are you and why can you mobilize the power bestowed by the Great Spirit Lord? You are also a spiritualist. No. You're definitely an apostate. He roared and looked at Yian angrily. Yian's existence seems to make him feel more hateful than the revenge of killing his father and having multiple wives. You spiritual bishops and apostates. However, it doesn't matter what happened to me. As for you, just wait to be judged. Yian waved his hand. Numerous mycelium immediately bundled each other into a big zongzi. As for whether he will suffocate, that is not something he has to consider. Anyway, even if there is a corpse left, those strong people can identify this person as a spiritual bishop. At the same time, in the audience, see Yian's series of operations. Those who watched the assessment gradually turned from doubt to anger. The Godhead shard in Yian's hand. Most of them are all too familiar. At this level, I have dealt with spiritual bishops more or less. Or know a lot of information about spiritualists. One of them is the question about the fragments of the spiritual master Godhead. So naturally most people know this stuff. It turned out to be a spiritual bishop. You are a great student, you can find this group of scumbags. Mo Luli said with emotion. To be honest, the disguise of the spiritualists in general is very good. Unless your own strength reaches a very high level. Otherwise it is difficult to see through. And Yian was just promoted to gold, and he could see it. Surprising indeed. After all, even in her prime, she couldn't recognize her at a glance. It's not the first time he has dealt with a spiritualist. During his rookie training, he was attacked by the spiritualists. Perhaps with the first experience, he knew how to tell. 39. Lu Ruhua thought for a while and explained. Did you meet a newcomer when they were training? That's really bad luck. 99. Mo Luli complained. The other side. The vice president of Tiangong Academy also had a dark face at the moment. After knowing that there was a spiritual bishop in this assessment, he immediately sent people to check the situation of the assessment site. Only then did I discover that the teleportation formation in the assessment site was actually blocked. The students inside can't quit if they want to quit. No wonder the beast tide was aggressive at that time, and some people were seriously injured and unwilling to quit. Not only don't want to quit, but there is no way. At that time, everyone's attention was focused on Yian or the frontal battlefield. So this problem was not found. Hurry up and repair the teleportation function. Although the assessment site is conceded, it cannot be teleported away. That is our problem. The deputy dean had a dark face, and sent a voice transmission to the relevant person in charge of the college. The goddamn bishop, the vice president scolded again. It's okay, don't be affected by your xingxing. All kinds of accidents are fate. And this time because of the existence of this Yian student, everyone is fine. 99. At this time, the old school principal suddenly spoke up. Students understand. The vice president immediately bowed his hands. His face softened a bit. But it's a pity. Suddenly, the old dean sighed again. What a pity. The vice president was a little puzzled. The spirit master has learned to behave. 2 days ago, I was beaten just now, and I was thinking of making another shot to make him quieter in the future. In the end, he cut off the connection of the Godhead fragments. The old school principal shook his head slightly and sighed. Teacher, you mean, you already knew? The vice president was a little surprised. At the same time with emotion. His own teacher is really ruthless. He even used other students as bait, and deliberately let the spiritual bishop in. Just to find the location of the spirit lord. It's a pity that the spirit master is too stubborn. Fortunately, the spiritual bishop has not made a big move yet. Just when he thought so, suddenly received a message. His face turned dark again. Quote. It's okay, wait and see. If it doesn't work, it's not too late to make a move. After all, it is necessary to give young people some opportunities to show. The old dean said with a smile. It seems to have seen through everything. But, this time it's a real evil. The vice president sighed inwardly. He knew that his teacher wanted Yian to deal with it. But no matter how powerful Yian is, he is still a rookie. The real evil is not necessarily something that can be dealt with. Examination place. After dealing with the unknown spiritualist, Yian began to look at the melon-eating crowd around him. At this time, many people's attitude towards Yian was both fearful and curious. Of course there is also worship. After all, everyone is a fellow student. Yian was promoted to gold alone to turn the tide. Saved them all. But Yian doesn't care what others think. All he was looking for was the spiritualist. But after scanning around, he didn't find the target. Spirituals are gregarious creatures, at least when the realm is low. After all, it is more convenient to join forces to do things. Since it's not here, it shouldn't be here. 35. So, they went to the Flame Mountains. Yian muttered. He didn't believe there were no accomplices. Or other spiritual bishops were killed by monsters. After all, the spiritual bishops have old silver coins per capita, and they are fully prepared to make trouble. It's impossible not to be completely dead, and to be almost dead. There was no one else at the scene, and 80% went to the Flame Mountains to make trouble. At this stage, the other students are unable to cross the molten lava and enter the Flame Mountains, but that does not mean that the spiritual bishops have no choice. Thought here. Yian raised his head and looked at the mountains of flames. At this time, the eruption of lava continued. Among the volcanic ash that filled the sky, there was even a flash of lightning from time to time. Yian could feel that the aura of that powerful being was still rising. Certainly the most notable for him. It's still the divine aura. This is what he wants to get no matter what. When I go, you will stay here, protected by the magic circle. These magma and falling volcanic rocks will affect you. Yian looked at the direction of the mountains of flames and said. Now go. Avril was a little puzzled. Volcanoes have erupted, what's the use of the past now? Even if there are good things in there, it's not. I can feel that there is a powerful life there. You chose to go for it. At this time, Wei Na asked. She looked at Yian with a rare trace of worry. Well, probably by the spiritualists. I don't know why. But I also have my purpose. Yian replied. He is no longer surprised that Wei Na can also perceive the existence of the other party. After all, when he was peeping, only Wei Na could notice it. Coupled with this woman's behavior, the symbiote ability is very strange. So it's no surprise. I don't know why, but I instinctively felt a tinge of unease. You, be careful. Wei Na looked at Yian and warned. Looking at Wei Na's eyes, Yian could sense that this was her sincerity. He didn't even think about it. This woman was really worried for herself. Looks like you really have to be careful. 35. Yian muttered in his heart. When she faced the gold-level monsters, Wei Na never said anything. Now I worry about myself. So there is definitely a problem. Don't worry, I'm immortal. Yian finally glanced at Wei Na and responded. At the same time, the mycelium under the feet lifted Yian up high and sent it to the hands of the mycelium puppet. Then the doll began to move towards the location of the Flame Mountains. Their location is not far from the Flame Mountains. Therefore, soon, Yian came to the lava sea. Want to go in now? It is necessary to cross this lava sea. Although Yian can make the mycelium bridge and send himself over. But he didn't choose that. Instead, let the mycelium lay flat on the magma sea. 1 second, 2 seconds. In the 3rd second, these mycelia couldn't hold on anymore and started to burn. If this problem is not overcome, I will undoubtedly lose if I enter the mountains of flames. 9. Yian whispered. Then he waved. In all directions, countless mycelia began to actively probe into the magma sea. The white sky is like a moth to a flame. In the end it all burned. But Yian didn't take it seriously, and even stepped up his efforts. Subsequently, the people in the audience were keenly aware. Yian's mycelium, from the very first 3 seconds to the back, can hold on for 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Over time, more and more dead mycelium. The time that Yian's mycelium could last became more and more. He's making the symbiote evolve. Looking at Yian's mycelium, it can last for a minute now. Someone couldn't help but start to exclaim. Impossible. If it is true, then the evolution speed is too terrible. The so-called evolution does not mean that he has gone through countless trials to make himself more familiar with the symbiote, and at the same time his own strength has grown to a certain level. It is possible to evolve. Someone retorted, because this view is so bizarre. If it's not evolution, it's adapting. His symbiote may have some special ability that allows his symbiote to adapt to the new environment for a short period of time. 35. But this kind of ability generally has great limitations in the early stage. For example, it can only adapt to a certain environment. The next time you change the environment, you have to get used to it again. 35. I've met a few holders of this ability, so that's probably the case now. Some scholars have carefully analyzed the road. Speaking of which, what did he do in the Flame Mountains? Someone else wondered. It was probably a volcanic eruption, and he knew that even if the assessment was over, the Flame Mountains would not be able to open. So I went in early and looked for the top 10 prizes in the Flame Mountains. Someone thought about it and said, his symbiote is obviously restrained by flames, and the top 10 rewards are not worth the risk. As far as his talent is concerned, the resources obtained after entering the academy are much better than the prizes of any assessment. Others exclaimed. In addition to the inside of the academy, people who know the news. Now no one understands what Yian is trying to do. Ding! Congratulations to the host, your symbiote has awakened the basic fire resistance. 99. Ask for flowers. In the examination area, Yian quietly watched his countless mycelium take the initiative to die. Until the system prompt appears. Yian then revealed a happy expression. The ability to evolve will is really useful. Unfortunately, the demand for external stimulation is too great, so awakening resistance is more suitable. Yian said with satisfaction. When he first came to the magma sea, he was indeed a little troubled about how to get there. After systematic calculation, he also got a stable answer. That is, evolution. As long as your symbiote has flame resistance, it will be much easier for you to pass. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 50. Chapter 50. The assessment is over, Master Loli. Is this a desperate fight? Then try. Who is more powerful? See this scene. Yian wasn't timid at all, and even felt a little excited. Immediately after, the dragon soared into the sky. On the flames of the sky, a huge formation pattern was also reflected. In that splendid picture, one after another huge meteorites fell. At the same time, These meteorites are also burning with extremely hot flames. The temperature of these flames, even if Yian had resistance, was unbearable. Not to mention the impact of the huge size. The anger is so big, then I'll put it out for you. Watching the ground of his mycelium was smashed. The endless magma surged up again. Yian snapped his fingers. The next moment, countless hyphae rapidly changed shape. After a while, countless seawater was transported by huge mycelium water pipes. Although the hot magma immediately evaporated the seawater. But the effect is also very obvious. The magma on the surface cools rapidly. Even if there is new lava surging up, it will soon turn into new volcanic rocks. And the flames burn in the sky. The effect is not so obvious. But it's not useless. Under the scouring of many seawater, these flames are also slowly weakening. How sad. In terms of power, you are countless times stronger than me. But it won't kill me at all. Even with the power of burning life, I still stand here. 5. And you can only wait to die slowly. 35. Yian raised his head. Looking at the giant dragon standing in the sky, he said with emotion. The dragon seemed to understand Yian's words. Began to vent his own power frantically. After a roar, heaven and earth turned angry again. Endless meteorites fell. The flames in the sky condensed into fireballs that fell to the ground. Countless explosions sounded. Even though Yian was blown to pieces, he was able to quickly recover. Till the end, the flames in the sky go out. Said to submerge all the lava. The giant dragon fluttered its wings weakly and swayed in the sky. But it still did not intend to admit defeat. Just when the dragon was about to continue to attack, the black silt-like existence on the body spreads out instantly. The dragon roared in pain. The body is constantly struggling. But without power, it has become a lamb to be slaughtered. And Yian continued to watch quietly. Soon the dragon was completely devoured. Turned into a black rot. This is really a disaster. And it's exactly the same situation as Zhao Long. According to what Zhao Long said before his death, the evil disaster is related to the spiritual bishops. 35. Plus I myself speculate that they are here. Yian saw this scene and started to think. When thinking of this, he instantly sensed a hint of danger. Instinctively sideways to the body. But there was still a black needle stuck in his left shoulder. The response is very fast. But it's too late. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of Yian. Looking at Yian with a fanatical and smug smile. At this time, Yian could also feel an unspeakable strange power. Not only does it erode your own body, even the spirit doesn't seem to be immune. Is this what it feels like to be infected with evil? There is no sense of absolute power gap, some are just deep in the quagmire, being swallowed up little by little. While reminiscing about this feeling, Yian also quietly shifted his consciousness. In the end, only an empty body was left. Remote manipulator with consciousness. And have to say, it's a strange feeling. It's like playing a game from a third perspective. Why, stop talking, doubt about my identity, or concentrate on resisting erosion. 99. Then I will tell you mercifully. This is the evil disaster that all ethnic groups are afraid of. You can't get rid of erosion at all. When you become like it, you will be completely under my control. Ha ha ha. As the top genius of this human race, you can say that it is a rare encounter in 1,000 years. Manipulating you, the great spirit master will definitely give me. The spiritualist babbled, but not quite finished yet. A mycelium was drawn directly. An illusory barrier immediately appeared on his body, blocking the blow. Broken with embarrassment, tell you, it's impossible for you to cause me. The voice did not fall. Yian just stared at him indifferently. Lightly spit out a word, death. 99. Next moment, the spiritualist's eyes widened immediately. Then the body began to tremble. Finally fell down. On his neck, a clearly visible streak was very noticeable. Do you really think that the shield formed by illusory power is invincible? Yian said disdainfully. Then he looked at his entire corroded arm. Mycelium underfoot forcibly breaks through the cooling lava rock. Looking at the hot lava, Yian threw his body into it. And on the other side, a brand new Yian was born quickly. The reborn Yian looked at the corrupted dragon. Then he looked around. There was just a spiritualist who suddenly appeared. That means there should be other hidden spiritualists nearby. And the means to hide is either stealth or hiding somewhere. Or, Cover the body with illusory power. This can also achieve the purpose of stealth. Thinking of this, Yian searched carefully. It turned out that there was another spiritualist hiding nearby. And just as he expected, the spiritualist was empowered by an illusory force. His life breath and spiritual power were all hidden. Change someone, even if it is a diamond-level superhuman, it is estimated that he will not be found. But for Yian, who is familiar with illusory power, feel the illusory power at this moment. Instead, he is as obvious as a fire in the dark. Are you going out on your own, or shall I invite you? Yian looked at the direction where the other party was hiding and took the initiative to speak. The other side, a spiritualist who has always been hidden. When he realized that he was discovered by Yian, he was shocked. He couldn't believe the protection given by the Great Spirit Lord. It was so seen through. Thinking back to the scene of the mysterious death of his companion just now, he suddenly felt a touch of fear. I can't die without 280. I have not yet completed the task conveyed by the Great Spirit Lord. I must find the Godhead hidden here and deliver it to the Spirit Master. Even if I die, I will definitely return to the arms of the Spirit Lord and live with him forever. The spiritualist murmured. Now, facing Yian, the source of his fear is not life and death, but whether the task has been completed. Thought here, he immediately gave orders to the corrupted dragon. The corrosive giant dragon, which was originally motionless, instantly launched an attack on Yian. Fight to the death. Yian snorted coldly. He also wanted to leave a living room to interrogate slowly. It doesn't seem necessary now. After all, the corrupted dragon is controlled by this spiritualist. So Yian hit the killer without hesitation. In this way, the dragon has no control, although it will still shoot at him. But no one controls it, and it's easier to deal with it. And he didn't know what little tricks this spiritualist had. So now this is the case. Take it all into consideration, kill it first. As for any conspiracy plan, it has nothing to do with him. After the assessment, Tiangong Academy will check it himself. Even if he can't find the headache, it is not him. It is Tiangong College. As long as the person is dead, don't cause him any more trouble. But just when Yian thought so, the body of the dead spiritualist suddenly exuded a thick black mist. Then the black fog began to rise rapidly into the sky. The dragon corrupted by the evil calamity also roared into the sky. The black fog instantly turned into a flame that filled the sky. Look at the rotting dragon that has been corroded into black, and the view of the sky. Yian frowned slightly. I didn't expect that after killing that spiritual bishop, there would still be so many troubles. At this time, the rotten black dragon began to breathe out dragon breath at Yian. That dragon breath formed a black flames and filth. Yian didn't dare to resist, so he could only dodge. The other party seized the situation. He also swooped over immediately, trying to get close to Yian to attack. Seeing this, Yian gave a big order while dodging. One after another, the puppets rushed towards the giant dragon. But they were all instantly annihilated and corrupted by the dragon's breath. Yian was not discouraged when he saw this. Instead, continued to let the puppet attack. At the same time, there are some dolls punching in place in the rear, accumulating the power of martial arts. Until the 10th punch, the power accumulated in it is about to exceed the upper limit of the doll. Yian then let these dolls go up to fight the dragon. At this time, the dragon's breath has just ended. The dragon was just about to lift off. But he was held back by a puppet. Followed by the second, the third. Many dolls and mycelium worked together to drag the mycelium to the ground. The rest of the puppets also swarmed up, constantly using martial arts to launch attacks. Because it has accumulated enough power. So now every punch of the puppet can have a considerable effect on the dragon. Although the dragon can always counterattack immediately, and even destroy the puppet directly. But no matter how much is destroyed, there will always be new additions. Just like that, keep fighting. The number of dolls has not decreased. The dragon's body began to deform a little bit. Until the end. The dragon's body has completely lost the appearance of the dragon. Like a mass of black mud that has been softened together. And at this level, the black dragon has no movement. But Yian didn't believe that this corrupted black dragon would just die like this. What happened next? It was exactly as he expected. The twisted body of the black dragon suddenly started to wriggle. A pale green tentacle stretched out. These tentacles are floating in the air like water plants. After expanding to a certain extent, it suddenly disappeared. New tentacles appeared, wafting again. I can't understand. Yian observed the tentacles, thinking about what kind of power this is. It looks like a fantasy. But you can't feel any illusory power at all. System. Exist. Help me analyze what the other party is. Yian ordered. When the system received the command, it immediately began to deduce it. Ding. The deduction begins. The target, the dragon polluted by the evil disaster. Ding. The deduction is in progress. Ding. The first stage of the game is over. Current conclusion. The target does not belong to the universal law, and the logic of the universal law begins to be abandoned and continues to be deduced. Ding. The deduction is in progress. Hint. Since there is no underlying law to support, start working backwards from the state presented by the target. 5. Ding. The game is over. Goals are formed from fragments of complex logic laws. Its existence itself is a broken and filthy fragment of the universal law. Warning. The host's current state is too low to bear the specific results, nor can it bear the infection of the other party. Hosts are currently advised to stay away from the target. Look at the conclusions given by the system. Yian knew that this was a goal he couldn't handle. But Yian was still a little puzzled. That Jiaolong was swallowed up by his mycelium. Why can't it work this time? Ding. The last time the target was only infected by breath, and did not directly touch the evil. And more from its own degeneration, so the host can directly absorb its power. At this time, the system gave the answer. I see. Yian nodded and understood all this. Now the situation is almost understood. Looking at the monster in front of him, Yian also had a plan in his heart. If you can't solve it yourself, then don't solve it. Just drag it next. As long as the assessment is over, someone will naturally take care of this monster. All he has to do now is to devour the godhead and that's it. Thought here. Yian controlled the mycelium and scoured the two dead spiritualists. Then let his mycelium puppet entangle the corrupted dragon. He himself committed suicide directly, and then immediately resurrected somewhere outside the Flame Mountains. Before long, he came to the crowd-gathering place. Found Vena. Yian asked her to help open the storage. It always feels like you don't respect life a little bit. Wei Na easily helped Yian to open the storage. But her eyes kept on Yian. Seems a little pissed off. No respect for life. Yian didn't quite understand what Wei Na meant. Even if you can be resurrected, but use this ability to travel. You are a little bit indifferent to life now. Of course the enemy doesn't matter, you shouldn't do the same to yourself. Wei Na frowned and said, it's just a body, my will is my life. Hear Wei Na's answer. Yian said with a smile. If he can't transfer his will storage, he won't just kill himself. After all, there is only one life, he will not die. But for him now, his mental body, the so-called soul, is his life. The flesh has completely become something that can be discarded at any time. Forget it, I won't argue with you. 35. After all, our ideas are different, no one is right or wrong, and the way of thinking is different. Finally, Wei Na shook her head slightly. The rest are labor fees. I still have to go and see that thing myself, or if it comes, you'll all suffer. Yian didn't plan to continue arguing with Wei Na. After picking up the godhead shards you want. Then he gave all the remaining items to Wei Na. It's just that this time Yian left and didn't commit suicide. Instead, let the mycelium bind itself and quickly transmit it. Wei Na saw this scene. His face also softened a lot. Along the way, Yian didn't know why he subconsciously estimated Wei Na's feelings. It is clear that the speed of rebirth is the fastest. Of course, if it is transported back, the speed is not too slow. Just haven't waited for him to go back. Yian saw that the black flames that filled the sky turned into a huge vortex. Below the vortex, the black corroded dragon began to rapidly swell up. Eventually, it gradually turned into a dragon. Only this time, it still has tentacles swimming on its body. Even Yian always felt that there were countless eyes wandering around in this tentacle. Just when Yian was thinking about how to deal with this giant dragon, a system prompt suddenly sounded in my mind. Ding, the fire-type godhead is absorbed. 35. Current level of unlocking of the sequence of gods, 26,100. 0.00 million. Ding, congratulations to the host symbiote awakening a new feature, Flame. 35. Ding, congratulations to the host for awakening new abilities, Magma Mushroom, Life Burst, Fire Immunity. 99. Ding, you have awakened a new sequence Fire. Look at the system prompt. Feel the change in yourself. Yi An's mouth couldn't help showing a satisfied smile. The newly acquired ability is really nice. Magma mushrooms allow his symbiote to live in magma and can absorb the heat of magma for food. Life Burst finally gave him a direct means of attack. This ability, in simple terms, is like an explosion like a cannonball. It's just that it didn't throw a fireball, which caused an explosion. But his spores and mushrooms, small enough to be invisible to the naked eye, spores can easily destroy rocks when they explode. It's just a spore, and his spores, at least have to be calculated in units of billions. As for the mushroom explosion, the power is naturally stronger. A mushroom, destroying a mountain is no big deal. Of course high attack, high damage. It means that it consumes a lot of spiritual power. But for Yian, spiritual power is the last thing to worry about. As for Fire Immunity. This ability absolutely lives up to its name. Immune to all flames. After all, he absorbed a large piece of Godhead. Therefore, the immunity he acquired was naturally outrageously powerful. Unless it is a god level, or a demigod level existence, it is possible to break the defense with flames. Although I want to try the new ability, but forget it. 35. The talent I showed was high enough. Look at the giant dragon not far away. Yian held back his thoughts. The initial exposure of strength was not intentional, it was just a last resort. After being promoted to gold, because of the original ability of immortality. Therefore, he can confidently show more talents and abilities. But everything has a degree. What he's doing now is surprising enough. There is no need to continue to expose. Especially the abilities related to Godhead. And the point is, he couldn't kill the dragon either. Although the damage of the explosion is high, the black dragon's body is much harder than a rock. And it can continue to regenerate. It is inherently a fire attribute. The most important thing is, even if you try your best to kill each other. Yian is not good either. All he wanted was Godhead from beginning to end. It was just that little sense of responsibility that allowed him to face this polluted black dragon alone. Otherwise, other people can't resist at all. Of course if it's not live. Yian may not even have this sense of responsibility. System, check the information bar. Yian called out to the system. The next moment, Yian's own information bar appeared in his mind. Open black lens bracket name, Yian male close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket age, 18 close black lens bracket. Level, gold intermediate. Open black lens bracket symbiote, indestructible phantasm close black lens bracket. Original ability, indestructible. Symbiote characteristics, indestructible, spirit, illusion, curse, fire. Ability sequence, God, life, spirit, curse, control, devour, phantom. God to be unlocked 15,300 100 million. Life, essence enhancement, essence change, bioengineering, will evolution. Spirit, absolute sharing, low-level intellectual brain, spiritual communication, spiritual exploration. Close black lens bracket. Curse, curse of paralysis, curse of blinding, curse of sleepiness, curse of corruption, curse of spirit, curse of horror. Fire, magma mushroom, life burst, fire immunity. Control, sleeping spores, dormant parasitism, spiritual control. Close black lens bracket. Swallow, all things melt, illusory stomach bag. Close black lens bracket. Phantom, phantom communication, phantom contract. Close black lens bracket. It turned out to be in the middle of the golden period, I didn't expect it. Looking at his level information, Yian muttered. After devouring the Godhead, he was eager to understand the ability of awakening. He didn't notice that his cultivation had also grown. Also look at other information. Yian showed a satisfied smile. This assessment is really not in vain, and I can be said to have benefited a lot. Enough is enough. Next, just wait for the assessment to end. Yian said lightly. As the cultivation base increased, his symbiotic body also increased to a certain extent. Now facing the black dragon, it is easier to deal with it. Therefore, the next days, he has been haunting the corrupted dragon. Although the scope of the black flames in the sky continues to expand. But according to this efficiency, even when the assessment is over, it will not cause much impact. But, what Yian didn't expect was, only on the second day, a ray of light suddenly shone on the sky. The black flame was instantly purified and dissolved. The corrupt dragon was also instantly wiped out. It looks like the assessment has ended ahead of schedule. Seeing this scene, Yian muttered, the assessment ends early, and there are only two possibilities. One is the invasion of all races, but the emergence of evil disasters. Now the situation is the second. Yian also thought that Tiangong Academy didn't teach martial arts, but was unwilling to take action. Now that I think about it, I seem to be testing myself. See how you deal with evil. As a result, he found that he had been fishing for time. Finally decided to go. Good, really good. Young man, are you interested? Come to your uncle to study. Also at this time, a strange voice came over. Yian turned around and immediately saw a middle-aged man in a white robe standing behind him. Ah, hello Vice President. Facing this middle-aged uncle, the strange uncle spoke. Yian was speechless for a while, but he still greeted him politely. Although he had never met this Vice President before. But the invitation letter sent by Tiangong Academy had introduced his identity. At the same time, he also lamented the strength of this man. Just stand on your own hyphy. He didn't even notice the other party's existence. Sure enough, even if he has a certain amount of power. But compared to the top powerhouses, it is still nothing. You old dog, how dare you come over and rob our teacher? Just when Yian sighed that the other party was strong, a familiar roar came. Yian turned his head to look. Sure enough, I saw the pair of my uncle Mo Luli. After all, she likes to scold people, and she is very arrogant. In Yian's impression, there is no one but her. He didn't officially apprentice, so it doesn't count. The vice president said with a smile, not minding Mo Luli's offense at all. So, do you really want to take my student away? At this time, Lu Ruhua also came. Although he didn't curse, his eyes were obviously bad. It's not a robbery, it's a fair competition. Hey, we've talked about fair competition later, why are you ready to do it? This moment, not only the vice president, but even Yian vaguely sensed a terrifying pressure. Even if he didn't point at him, it still made Yian feel shocked. At the same time, Yian also understood a little. Although my teacher is different from Mo Luli, he swears arrogantly when he opens his mouth and closes his mouth. But she is more ruthless, and she will act if she disagrees. Is it the problem of the academy, or is it a problem of the teacher sect? I always feel that there are not many normal people. Yian muttered inwardly. The other side, seeing Lu Ruhua, she really wanted to do it. The vice principal also immediately persuaded. It's not that they can't beat Lu Ruhua, it's just the consensus of Tiangong Academy, and even some high-level circles of extraordinary people. Don't mess with Lu Ruhua's two sisters. One catches you and scolds hard, and the other does not know when. And once one starts, the other will follow suit. Not to say never die, but it can definitely drive people crazy. Forget it, just kidding, after all, his kind of genius is really rare. And no matter which division you enter, it's all from my Tiangong Academy, right? Haha, so I'll leave first. 35. The vice president said with an embarrassed smile. Then the soles of the feet were smeared with oil, and they disappeared in place in an instant, and disappeared completely. Humph, Lu Ruhua snorted coldly, put away his own coercion and power. I'm going to pick up my apprentice, see you then. Mo Luli glanced at Yian, then said to Lu Ruhua. Lu Ruhua nodded, then he started to face Yian. Yian also looked at himself, the teacher. For a while, eyes widened and no one said a word. The atmosphere became increasingly awkward. Ahem, you're doing great. I didn't expect you to be promoted to gold, I thought you were going to fail the assessment. 35. Lu Ruhua finally took the initiative to speak. Actually, if it wasn't for a spiritual bishop, I might have really failed the assessment. Yian replied. How to say? Lu Ruhua asked curiously. Spiritual bishops cut off the transmission path for exiting the assessment. Junior sister. She was about to withdraw at that time, but it turned out that it didn't work at all. I had no choice but to expose my strength and choose to be promoted to gold. Yian explained. Exposing your own strength. You are so cautious. And if you say that, you're still hiding your strength. Lu Ruhua stared at Yian and asked. He seemed to want to see through Yian. But she found out that she can't see through Yian's cultivation now. A little bit, a little bit. Yian smiled and didn't say anything specifically. A little bit, you think I believe it, even your stupid uncle wouldn't believe it. Lu Ruhua gave Yian a blank look and complained. But she did not continue to ask. However, it's really thanks to you this time, otherwise, I and your uncle would have to stay in Zuxing. Speaking of you are already golden, it is not so easy to go back to Zuxing and other survival stars. And once it's gone, one's own cultivation will also pass by moment by moment. 35. Lu Ruhua looked at Yian earnestly and said, I know. And teacher, you also know that I have no relatives or friends at all, and it is the same for me whether I go back or not. So it doesn't matter at all. Yian shrugged and said nothing. Quote. Speaking of which, how did you cultivate your martial skills? Did you modify it yourself? Lu Ruhua looked at Yian. I wanted to console myself, but after thinking about it, I gave up. She knew that Yian was a strong person, and there was no point in forcing sensationalism now. So immediately changed the subject. I modified it myself. Yian did not deny this. For the talent he showed. The talent in martial arts is not worth talking about at all. After all, the higher the level of transcendent, the less attention paid to martial skills. I didn't expect your talent in martial arts to be so terrifying. 9. Lu Ruhua said with a surprised expression. The surprise that Yian brought her is really getting to know more and more. Next, the two teachers and students talked about many things. After Mo Luli brought Avril over, Yian was taken away by Lu Ruhua. He is like this, he has already started to become a teacher. So after entering the academy, the process is completely different from other students. Most of them are arranged by the college to the newcomers' dormitory. As for Yian and Avril, Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli were directly in charge. To put it simply, he is now like an inner disciple with his own master. The others are outside sect disciples, and they need to take classes everywhere to study, and only when certain conditions are met can they choose a mentor. Of course, if the talent is good, other mentors will take a fancy to it in advance. This is where you lie from now on. Next, I will teach you and your Uncle Mo. Although you need to rely more on yourself in terms of cultivation, some lessons from experience can also be used. 99. And besides cultivation, there are many things to learn. 35. For example, the unpopular martial arts, the cultivation of spirit grass, in addition to the formation method, the mechanical theory, the linguistics of all ethnic groups. In short, in addition to cultivation, there are a total of more than 100 professional disciplines that can be learned. Although the main thing is to cultivate in the end, the skills are not overwhelming, and learning other knowledge is sometimes beneficial to cultivation. 35. Lu Ruhua took Yian to a loft and said, when talking about martial arts. He also took a special look at Yian. She felt that with Yian's talent in martial arts, she had a high probability of learning for a while. It can overwhelm everyone. Uncle Lu, what are you and Master good at? At this time, Avril on the side asked. She's good at fighting, I'm good at cursing. What, do you want to learn? Mo Luli spoke at this time. This provoked Lu Ruhua to give her a blank look. You have to remember that what you are good at should be cultivation. Other majors don't have a saying that I'm good at here. It's just how much you study. For example, your master, she has studied more than 30 majors, and each one has reached the master level evaluation. As for me, there are more than 50 kinds, but only those who have reached the master level or in their early 30s. Lu Ruhua explained patiently. Heard both would be so professional. Avril, who was quite curious at first, suddenly felt a lot of pressure. To learn so many majors, you have to practice hard. The future is not afraid of being exhausted. As for Yian, is more interested. For him, there is no way to cultivate, only resources. And so many majors seem to be too many to learn. But he has a system. Something that others take a year to learn. I guess he can learn it all in less than an hour. Of course there is no rush to choose anything. Let's live here first and get used to it. And one of you was promoted to gold rashly, and the other was degraded. I'm afraid there are other problems. Lu Ruhua warned, looking at Yian at the same time. Yian nodded obediently. Okay, you brothers and sisters go to choose a room first. The 2 rooms on the 3rd floor are pretty good. Hurry down and I'll take you to see the master. Lu Ruhua said again. When Avril on the side heard the news, her eyes suddenly lit up. 3rd floor, 2 rooms. Didn't you say that you live next door to your senior brother? Brother, let's go take a look. Avril took Yian's hand excitedly. He dragged Yian upstairs. Hey, my newly accepted apprentice was kidnapped by your student. And you said you didn't mean something ulterior. Mo Luli sighed when she saw this scene. By the way, he stared at Lu Ruhua. You also said that you were looking at him yourself. Why, are you jealous? Lu Ruhua retorted disdainfully. Bah, I don't think your expression is right, it's you who is jealous. Mo Luli said with a cold snort. Lu Ruhua clenched her fist, and finally resisted the thought of doing it. In front of students, I still have to restrain myself. Inside the attic, Avril took Yi into the room on the 3rd floor, and thoughtfully cleaned up for Yian. Although the room was spotless and fully equipped, there's not much to clean either. But Avril was exceptionally diligent. Senior brother, look at how big this room is, we have a space for each of us. Why don't we move in together? How about? After Avril tidied up, the room did not need to be tidy up. Looking at Yian suggested. Don't make trouble. Yian immediately shook his head and refused. Joke. You are a decent person, and the existence of women will only disturb his cultivation. The point is, the 2 have known each other for a long time, and they live in the same room. This makes his beloved Lu as picturesque. How does Mr. Lu view him? Quote. Avril pouted and left Yian's room in dissatisfaction. Because there really isn't much to clean here. And she also needs to see how her room is now. Wait until Avril is gone. Yian then looked at the room carefully. Layout and things like that, he wasn't interested. But the protection formation in the room, he was quite interested. He doesn't know how strong this protection formation is. However, his spiritual vision could not see through. Even if Avril is in the opposite room now, Yian can't even see her at all. Overall it's pretty good with enough privacy. The protective circle. With my current strength, it is difficult to leave a trace if I attack with all my strength. Yian sighed and commented. Wait until after checking the situation in the room. Avril also came out of her room. The 2 left together like this and came to Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli downstairs. Come with me. Saw the 2 come out. Lu Ruhua said. Immediately, they wrapped the 2 with spiritual power and flew to a cave. See this cave house hidden in a waterfall. If you don't know that this is a world of spiritual recovery. Yian thought he had joined a cultivator sect. After entering the cave, the 4 walked all the way. The various room decorations inside made Yian feel more and more immortal. Finally, the 4 passed through a long tunnel, came to a beautiful world that can be described as Blessed Land. Lu Ruhua and Mo Luli stopped in front of a bamboo house. Master, Lu Ruhua called out respectfully. A calm female voice came from inside. Only, Yian always sounds a little strange. The voice seems to have been faked. Even the voice has to be disguised. What kind of weirdness is this master of Teacher Lu? Yian couldn't help but think so. It's not his fault either. After all, the people from Tiangong Academy he has come into contact with are basically not normal. Even his most beloved Lu Ruhua, he did not blindly think that he was a normal person. I don't like so many cumbersome etiquette processes. So this thing, you 2 kids take it. 35. In this way, even if you have completely entered my teacher's door. 35. Just when Yian was cranky, the calm female voice sounded again. Immediately afterwards, a ring appeared in front of Yian and Avril. Yian took the ring, and the introduction information of the ring flashed in his mind immediately. After a little understanding, Yian knew what it was. Simply put, just like your own smart bracelet, it can be connected to the network, and there is a storage space inside. In addition, it also depicts some emergency functional arrays. The difference is that your own smart bracelet can only connect to the Zhou Tianxingdu network. This ring can not only connect to the Zhou Tianxingdu network, but also to the Zhuzhong Tiangong network within Tiangong Academy. Apart from that, the style of this ring is also a status representative. It means that he is a student disciple of Lu Ruhua's lineage. Thank you, Master. After getting the ring, Avril said happily after checking it. And also made a standard Western-style aristocratic etiquette. Yian did not express his position immediately, but glanced at Lu Ruvua. Then he said, Thank you, Master. Next, the two of you should calm down and study, don't pay too much attention to your own cultivation level. 99. Especially after reaching the Golden Age, the life expectancy starts at least 500 years, and can even reach 1,000 years at the highest. So in the next 10 to 50 years, you can slowly lay the foundation. The steady voice sounded again. You two, teach well, but don't let your disciples have any other accidents. 35. Don't worry, Master, Lu Ruvua said with a firm look. Mo Luli on the other side nodded and was done. Although she has a loose and dissolute character, she has restrained a lot in front of her master. But it can be seen that it is still a bit difficult by nature. Then leave, I'm going to rest. At this time, the other party issued an expulsion order. Lu Ruvua nodded. Together with Mo Luli, they left with Brother Yian. Only when Yian left, still couldn't help but look at it curiously. And it is open mental vision. But only for a moment. Yian immediately felt his mental turmoil. Taj. Looking back, Yian repaired his spirit. While muttering. Just that moment, he saw a small spirit body. That is to say, my master is probably a loli. No wonder the steady female voice sounded weird. It is estimated that the voice was deliberately changed to maintain the majesty. But anyway, he's a master in name, so he's too stingy. Just looking at it, it almost shook my spiritual body away. Yian was dissatisfied. This kid, dare to spy on me. 35. Fortunately, the power was suppressed in time, otherwise he would really be lost on the spot. Even so, I guess he's not feeling well. I have to remind Xiaohua to help him repair his mental power. By the way, a good warning, not all secrets can be spied on casually. Wait until a few people leave.